So, okay, we're live.
Live.
Lauren?
Welcome to Tech Station, the best blog and podcast covering tech, startups, and futurism. I'm Lauren Bates.
I'm Charles.
And we're your hosts. Each week we take a deep dive into some facet of the nebulous world that is tech. And this week, our very special guest is Osama Khan.
Hi,
Osama.
Cool, excellent. So let's get into it. So Osama, we've known each other for a number of years, and I think when we first met, you were at Lighthouse Labs.
Yeah.
And
at the boot camp, yeah.
Yeah. So I think you were at Lighthouse Labs, and I think I met you there. I can't remember how I met you, but I met you there. And eventually you graduate. I think you even have a computer science background before you went to
I did, yeah. Lighthouse was a stepping stone for something. I can explain it later.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I met you there. You went to Lighthouse Labs. You eventually graduated. You worked as a software developer, software engineer for a while. Then you decided you want to go into data science. You became a data scientist for a while. And then you decided you want to become a data engineer. So you were a data engineer for a while. And then you decided you wanted to go into product. So you wanted product. And I think you were in product before also.
I did product before, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I did product and data science before. It wasn't called data science then, it was called business intelligence.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay, cool. So what we're going to go over today, and we'll probably go off script, but the plan is we're going to talk about Streamlabs, and this is where you're at right now. And Streamlabs is a company involved with helping content creators who are making content for Twitch, YouTube, and other video platforms. We're also going to go into Twitch, YouTube, and the other video platforms. We're going to get into streaming, vlogging, online video podcasting. We're also going to talk about the tech and startup scene in different places in the world, whether that be Vancouver, San Francisco Bay Area, Karachi, the Middle East. We're going to get into product development, product management, software development, machine learning, and data science. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So let's get to it. So let's start off really basic, right? Not everyone who watches this is in tech. Some people are just very interested in tech, and some people are just starting off the career. So let's start off basic first. What is tech, Osama?
What is tech? So Paul Graham, Marca, he said it the best. Software is eating the world, and now everything is tech. Before it used to be machines, and even before software, it used to be hardware based. You had CNC mills, and you had the steam engine. That's what tech is. It's basically something that basically improves human productivity, which means increased economic activity. So yeah, that's tech.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think so.
New innovations.
Innovations or maybe just incremental improvements to making humans more productive.
Absolutely.
And now it's converted into software, which is it's less hardware based. That means it's less capital intensive, and you can gain higher productivity. Doing things like building Uber or building software, basically. Right?
Absolutely. So there's less operational costs.
There's less OPEX, CAPEX, all of that is complete. There's no if you studied economics, they used to say that there's this cost of land and cost of labor, and suddenly that has just changed because you can have these so-called unicorn 10x engineers, and that means your cost of labor, yes, it might be high, but the output is significantly higher. It's not an assembly line anymore, and the cost of land factor is not there anymore because you can be producing a lot of value without having any land. So yeah.
You mentioned unicorn engineers, but there can also be unicorn companies.
Yeah.
And for those who kind of are newer to tech, one of the questions we'd like to ask is, what is a startup?
What is a startup? That's actually a good question. So even before you go into what is a startup, it's more about there are two types of businesses in this world. One is a large corporation, and the other I just say is small to medium or small businesses, right? And then the difference is the large corporation is thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people. It has it is listed on a stock exchange. It is it has all these processes. It's huge. It functions. Everybody knows its name. It's got a big building. Everybody recognizes it. And then there are these smaller businesses, right? These can be mom and pop shops. These can be food trucks. These can be anything out there, to be honest, which is run by a couple of people, maybe 5, 6, 10, 15. And that middle range of like mid-sized businesses of 500 or so people, they are actually just on their path to becoming either large corporations or dying eventually, right? Or getting eaten up, right? So startups is it's a fresher name to these small businesses, to be honest. And the only fundamental difference now is, we're in the 1980s and 90s, earlier or outside the Silicon Valley, the idea of doing a small business was, I'm going to do some saving. I have an idea. I'm going to save some money. I'm going to start a small business and generate revenue and live off that revenue while growing my business.
Yeah.
Or maybe take a loan from the bank, right?
Yeah.
And then this whole venture capital industry came in, and or actually it got built around the valley, the Bay Area now.
Yeah.
And then that's where the whole startup lifestyle started, where you have an idea, you have some early customers, you try to raise money through now it's very mature, like you got rounds, and it used to be like very small before. So so startups are basically now businesses which have a modern approach to doing high output, low input kind of, it's more like high output by very few individuals, and they're mostly fueled by some form of venture capital. And then there are these lifestyle startups, which is a take on basically small businesses, just like before. And these are small businesses, indie hackers who are like, okay, we're going to build something, it's going to generate revenue, and we're going to grow it slowly without killing ourselves. So I feel it's very important to distinguish between startups and lifestyle businesses. Both are very modern. They're a new take on small businesses, but the hustle around each is very different.
You say the lifestyle business is the business about lifestyle, or you mean it's more of like, we're going to build this, but just not go crazy?
Okay, I'll give the TLDR version and then I'll explain it. The TLDR is, the DHH version of doing business. The base camp model of doing business is a lifestyle business where, you can drive nice cars, have a nice family life, do a nice, like a reasonable living, and you just hustle well enough, to meet your goals. And then startups chasing the unicorn status are working.
Got it.
Yeah,
dog hours.
I've had both startups and lifestyle businesses. I mean, before we used to call these just small companies, and then they started calling them both startups, and now there's this distinction, right?
Yeah.
And for example, one of my companies, 49 Research, I would say that was more of a lifestyle business rather than like a startup that you expect to get exponential growth and sell to someone. Like myself and my business partner for it, we started with nothing. We were living off our savings. We started getting customers. We grew it. We got employees. We were paying ourselves quite well, right? And that's what you want to turn it into, something where you can pull a large income from it and live quite comfortably. And it's just a different thing, right? Our goal wasn't to sell it eventually. Our goal was just to make it successful and pay ourselves well. Okay, cool. So let's get into another topic, Osama. Let me ask you this: what is a data scientist?
Data scientist. So one, I don't believe in that whole data scientist is the hottest job of the whatever century now, and I never believed it before either, because I used to do business intelligence, and data science is just putting math or data behind business decisions right now. And I distinguish data science from machine learning or machine learning engineering, because machine learning engineering is more about building machine learning backed products, whereas in my opinion, data science is more about driving business decisions using data. So an example would be when you're watching Netflix and it's recommending the next movie to you, or picking the right thumbnail so you click on the movie. That is machine learning engineering, right? And when you're trying to measure customer churn, which is how many customers will I lose or gain, based on XYZ feature or something else, that is more data science. That is more business decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about another kind of related term, right? And I'll put some context around this.
Sure.
A lot of times when someone comes up with a name for a type of thing that people do, you might say a role. It starts off as something generic. Let's say, for example, software developer, software engineer, programmer, or whatever it's being called nowadays. Eventually, though, like you found that people tended to get clusters of skills. So a software engineer might become a back-end developer or a front-end developer or a mobile developer or whatever, right? And I remember when data science first started getting used, it was very broad in what it included. And my suspicion was that it would eventually, get these kind of clusters of skills, and you give those clusters of skills a name, like you have like back-end developer, front-end developer, and all that. So one of them that seemed to emerge was data engineer, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you go into like what a data engineer is?
So I've been a data engineer myself, and data engineering is all about, so to do the data science bits or even to do machine learning, you need to build a whole infrastructure, where you're pulling in all the data from multiple databases, maybe external systems like Twitter. Like if I want to build a Twitter-based stock trading app right now, I need to ingest all the tweets from the world and maybe some other market data from the financial markets, and then build my models on top of it. And the data engineer's job is basically the data infrastructure, the data operations, making sure that we can ingest that data. Generally, this was used for big data roles, and that was more around ingesting data in the terabytes and petabytes. But now even with small data, it seems like people are doing data engineering, and that is also because that is just the role was created out of a need, because most of the data scientists are very math heavy or academic, they come from a very strong mathematical academic background generally, and they're not very software engineering. They've not been trained in software engineering. So
They used to be, though.
They used to be, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But now since the Harvard the McKinsey and HBR article, everybody started becoming a data scientist.
Yeah.
This became a different industry.
I think one thing. Okay, so just give some context. Like, I'd say in the early 2000s. In the early 2000s, I was creating ad networks. I either created the first ad network or one of the first ad networks. I'm not sure quite which one, but I was doing distributed machine learning, so like reinforcement learning. And it was not called data science. Like data science is a very new term. It used to be called just software engineering or software development, right? And even later on, like I didn't do this in every single project I worked on, but every now and then I do some machine learning, right? And what you would now call data science, right? And all the people that at least I was aware of doing it, were also software developers, software engineers, right? And even when the software or the data scientist label got coined at first there were a lot of people that had software development skills, and that was very common. And then what seemed to happen is there were a lot of ex-physicists who kind of like came into data science, right?
Yep.
And my understanding is that so there's like this many people who want to graduate with PhDs in physics, but there's this many jobs, right? Like actually, like even less than that. I'm not even sure I can represent it with my hands. And it seems like, to me, it seems like kind of a scam, right? Like they accept all these people, they put them through the PhD program. There's no hope at all of them, like one, getting any kind of like professor position, or two, getting any kind of postdoc work. And I have one friend that kind of went through this. He was making way, way, way below the minimum wage. Like he was desperate to even work in a lab. And what he was telling me is you would get people who would, physicists who would, get the PhD, and they desperately trying to find any lab that would hire them. They wouldn't necessarily hire them. They get them to work there for free, and then just like never hire them, right? You just kind of bounce around, and it's like, and apparently like this is very common in physicists. And it's like, oh crap, what do I do with my life, right? What the physicists are thinking. And the answer before used to be learn how to program, right?
Yeah.
But the answer now seems to be become a data scientist, right?
Pretty much.
And so I'm involved in organizing a lot of the data science and machine learning stuff in Vancouver. And I can tell you, like in some of the meetups, like half the people there are ex-physicists, right? And I think that's affected data science to some degree. I think that it's made it so that programming is not common. And also the ones who do have any kind of programming skills, they don't program like a software developer programs.
Yeah.
A software developer makes an application that's meant to run by itself forever. Data scientists, when they program, it's more like using the command line, more like using Bash, where you just issue commands, right? And it's not meant to run by itself. And sometimes the scripts they write, they'll run part of it, and then they'll go and edit something and run that part, and then go and edit something, this by hand, and then run that part. It's not like a program or an application that software developers used to. So it just seemed to change like the common skill sets, which is kind of interesting. But
Mhm.
okay, so another question, just like just a quick kind of distinction. What would you say is a good way of thinking of the difference between a data scientist and a data engineer? Just kind of like a TLDR version.
Data engineer is someone who knows distributed systems and software engineering, and a data scientist is someone who understands the business domain and mathematical models really well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So in a startup, and maybe this is let's think of a fictitious startup that has a data scientist and data engineer. You'll need some other people to build that product,
Yeah.
and one of those is a software developer. So what's kind of going to be the difference in their role versus the data engineer?
It really depends on the startup and
Yeah.
how it's structured, right? But if yes, there is a data engineer and there is a data scientist and there is a software engineer. From what I'm assuming, let's assume it's a web-based startup building, a web app. The software engineers will be building most probably the back end and the front end systems, the CRUD systems. They'll most probably be. Let's assume there's an infrastructure DevOps basically engineer. So they'll be dealing with the AWS bits, and the data engineer would be basically working around the data pipeline, and taking the data from the software databases most probably, and building a whole separate pipeline as a back office to the front customer facing, and then the data scientist's model uses that data and then feeds maybe back into the web app, or maybe just feeds business decisions, right? So
totally.
yeah.
And those business decisions, you're going to need someone else to handle those,
which
is a product manager.
Which is a product manager. It depends on how your team and company is structured, but yeah, it can be the founder for a very small startup.
Very common.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what a product manager does?
So there are two types of product managers. Sorry, my answers are always like,
No, this
they
is
come
why
with
you're here.
disclaimers. So there are two types of product managers. There are career product managers, as I call them, and then there are product builders. And there's a very fine distinction between the two. I'll talk about career product managers because that is what most people are, or that is what most people do. And that is basically someone who comes from either design, business, or maybe even engineering background, and they're wanting to be in a more like a management-like position, or they're wanting to be, explore the softer side of their personality and the business itself. And these people basically do project management, to be honest. They make sure the scope is in place and things are being done on time, things are being delivered on time across various teams, because building software is not just about someone coding in a dark room or someone just coming up with drawings on paper. It's about getting the drawings and the code together and shipped to a customer in time. But most importantly, it's about understanding the customer and what they want and what they would actually pay for. Because I would say I want to pay you $30 for your product, but will you pay me those $30 per month when I actually give you that product in your hand?
Absolutely.
And the product manager's job is really to just minimize risk in all these things, right? Their function is just minimizing risk of that $30 not coming in.
Yeah.
And they're just optimizing for that $30 per month to come in faster and by as many people as possible. And and then career product managers now that term has broken into like multiple things now. It's broken into growth oriented product manager, right?
Yeah.
It's broken into product marketing. So some product management roles are very product marketing focused, where you're just focused on marketing. The growth one is more about conversion rates and metrics and affiliate programs and AdWords and doing all of that stuff. Then there's product management, which is very technical, and it's more about managing the technical teams and getting the technical stuff in order, basically, right? So that's technical product management. And this is all career product managers, right? And these are people who go from company to company, they become senior execs at companies, and then they go to other companies as senior execs. They almost never launch their own business, right? They just do like product management as a profession. They're the people who do storyboarding, and they use fancy software, and they use all sorts of project management and product management methodologies, and they do conferences. And then there's this small group of people, I call them product builders, right? Product builders are all of that stuff in one person, And that person is basically generally looking to just build stuff with very small teams, right?
Yeah.
And these people generally thrive at startups, or they're just founders, or they're indie hackers,
Yeah.
right? And that's the group I associate with. Instead of like worrying about using XYZ new fancy tool to prototype, they just use paper and pencil.
Yeah.
And they just, because fundamentally, no matter what you do, the best prototype can be built in paper and pencil.
Totally.
Like you don't need to
Put
pay
it
like
on paper to test
you
it.
can do that, right?
Yeah.
So these are these product builders who don't, because they don't need to build a resume. They're more focused on their ultimate objective. They don't need to worry about learning XYZ tool to put on their resume to get their next job. So they're not optimizing for that.
Totally.
So yeah.
Interesting. That's what Charles and I call a product developer.
Product developer, sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good term. Yeah.
And I was actually going to ask that question. What do you think the difference is between the two? So
Yeah.
you answered it for me.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's get into now we cover some of the basics. Let's get into a topic. So let's first focus on online video streaming, vlogging, video
Sure.
podcasting. This stuff has gone by many different names. So Osama, why don't you tell us about online video?
Online video has evolved over the last 10 to 15 years. And even before it was online, it was offline on DVD with Blockbuster and Netflix, and everybody knows that story, right? So I'll skip forward, and then YouTube came along, and YouTube fought the governments all over the world for regulations and getting banned and content moderation, and they figured that bit out. So they did the hard work. And what happened is, what you realize is, this is actually new to North America, but online video took a completely different shape in other parts of the world, especially when there were government bans, and certain type of content was not allowed, or maybe content was just not available, and people were limited to 4 or 5 channels run by the state. People found heaven in this, this online media thing, and they started YouTube and Facebook and Twitter were they were the core infrastructure that helped the Arab Spring and all these political movements.
Mhm.
But what's interesting is not just like for political uprising, but also for things like just pure entertainment. Like live streaming is huge in China right now, and that is simply because there's not a lot of other sources of entertainment available.
Yeah.
And because of that, people just tune into live streamers who are normal people who have become micro celebrities in their own microcosm. So they've made their own tribe, and so online video has evolved from being like on a DVD to now being live from my phone, your phone, and or even like GoPros and stuff like that. So there's this whole trajectory that's happened, and it's going to explode in the throughout the world, and that is a function of internet speed becoming more available.
Absolutely.
And that infrastructure spending, spreading across the world.
Sorry for anyone who doesn't know, streaming is live video.
This
right?
is streaming, right?
Yes, this is streaming.
Streaming is basically live sports as we used to watch it before, but now democratized, now available to everyone to do. You don't need a fancy Fox News or CNN studio to broadcast your stuff online.
Mhm.
You can just pick up a phone, open the Streamlabs app or some other app, and then you can just start, streaming it online.
Yeah. And a streamer is someone who streams.
Streamer is someone who streams, hopefully professionally for a living.
Yeah.
That's the Streamlabs promise, that we help you, or our tools help you, become a professional streamer. So you can pay your rent with basically by just streaming whatever interests you.
What is the difference? Because I remember a long time ago, not a super long time ago, there was a thing called a vlog, a video vlog.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
So basically, I wanted to share some part of my life, maybe I draw pictures and I really wanted to share that with the world.
Yeah.
Live was still not a big thing then. Infrastructure wasn't there, viewers weren't there, so people started recording videos and uploading, and there was this whole blogging world as well, right?
Yeah, blogging.
There was blogging. Yeah, exactly. So basically, people were like, blogging was text.
Yeah.
So blogging became like video logs, basically, right? And there were I think there were 2 movies. I don't remember. There was this movie. It was sci-fi, spacey movie, and the actors actually used to vlog back home, and I think that's how the term got coined.
No, I know where the term came from.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So there was a mailing list on Yahoo called the Video Blogging Mailing List, right? I was actually part of that mailing list. I was very interested. This is like in the, I think, late 1990s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So I was very interested in online video, and I even had some projects. I have some nice domains too that I was working on back then. It was just way too early. And people on that mailing list, they basically took video blog and shortened it to vlog. And there was even a conference called VloggerCon that happened in San Francisco Bay Area. I attended I didn't attend the first one. I attended the second one. There was a lot of different people involved with this, but the mailing list is still up if you want to like dig through it for historic reasons or whatever. Various people who used to be involved with this are still around. Like you'll find them on Twitter. And actually, the funny thing is, how I got on Twitter was because of the other people on that mailing list. They were basically talking about Twitter all the time, so I eventually joined, which is kind of funny. But it comes from the video blogging mailing list subs on YouTube and the community that developed around that and the conference that came out of that. There were some of the shows got a bit popular. Like there was Ask a Ninja. There was also Rocket Boom. There were some other ones. I don't remember them right now. They weren't as big. And if any of them listen to this, they're gonna like be upset. But I can't remember the names right now. But yeah, so it came out of that mailing list though, and that was like basically. I mean, like blog was, you had a blog, a web blog, and it was very tied to this RSS technology. And then people started. You had a thing called an enclosure where you can include a file with it, and it could be a video file. And people just basically did vlogs. You had the text-based thing on Blogger, but you also attached a video file a lot of times. So there was some people, they had difficulty. It was just kind of like embedded in the text area. But that's where the word vlog comes from.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's just a matter that I'm old and I was like around at that point. So I still remember. And by the way, if you want to know YouTube, like how YouTube got popular.
Yeah.
So at a point in time, there was different people trying to create these video hosting platforms. I think another one's Blip TV.
Yeah, there were a bunch.
Yeah, so what made YouTube popular is this. It was MySpace. So MySpace had you could create a profile. So it was a social network that was popular before Facebook.
Yeah.
You create a profile.
It was the social network.
Yeah. So I was on MySpace. Most people were on MySpace that were did that kind of thing. And there was a bug in MySpace that people took advantage of. So when you create your profile, there was an area, if you put HTML, the HTML actually worked. It wasn't supposed to, but it actually worked. And people use that HTML to customize their profiles, to like add special colors, to mod it in different ways and change the layout. It's very cool. And some people started adding videos. Now, in the past, the video tag didn't exist. And just as a side note, I helped create the video tag for HTML, but that's a side note. But it didn't exist in the past. And what you had to use was the object tag, right?
Okay.
And the object tag lets you use all these plugins that came with this. And some of these had like big security holes and privacy problems. And eventually what MySpace did, right? So before you could use the object tag any kind you wanted, MySpace eventually said you can only use Flash, right? And that meant, because like in the past you had to, if you wanted to play a video, you had to use the object tag. That means if you had an MPEG or like whatever video file, I don't remember all the AVIs, like in all the other video files, it wouldn't work with the object tag. You couldn't play video anymore. But if you had video playing through Flash, it would work. There was one video hosting site that had it so you can play video with Flash. YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube. That's how YouTube got popular.
Wow.
Like MySpace is gone, but that's what made YouTube popular. And I remember when it happened. And then like, lots and lots of other stuff happens, but I'm digressing.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So TechStation is a video podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make the word vlogcast a thing.
Wow.
So you can start using that with your friends.
That's a good time. This is a good time. I don't know if you heard the last like a couple of weeks ago, A16Z podcast. They spoke about podcasting in general.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't meta. It was like podcast about podcasting.
Yeah.
So and yeah, podcasting is coming back, and video podcasts or vlog. Sorry, what is the term?
Vlogcast.
Vlogcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
vlogcast
and
is
your
becoming a thing. In fact, it's one of the fastest growing category on Twitch as well right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So people are like, 5 gamers just sit down and they just chat about random stuff. And there's video, there's also like an audio distributed through audio channels, like SoundCloud or Spotify, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's recorded, so it's like a VOD as well, video on demand, and we want to play it on YouTube. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like every podcast I listen to has like a thing about telling their users how to start a podcast because it's becoming so popular.
Yeah.
So podcasts and blogcasts. So I guess the difference between streaming and a vlog and a vlogcast is kind of singular versus kind of vlog versus.
I would say it's more async versus sync.
Mm-hmm.
So live streaming is more sync. You're getting constant feedback because like right now we're live streaming, but if I were a gamer or a mom cooking somewhere, I would be seeing my audience engaging with me.
Yeah.
And the chat messages or the donations coming in or whatever mechanic of engagement, and it's more sync. It's more engaged.
That makes
I can call out your name. I'd be like, hey, XYZ person, right? And vlogging is more offline. It's more laid back. Like someone just recorded something, the content was created. You have no impact on it. But that space is interesting because even like on-demand video is changing. And like I've been saying this for 2 years now. I just couldn't. It was not smart to make a Netflix while Netflix existed, but. How the Japanese, and I'm going to digress a little, but how the Japanese had like non-linear stories. So non-linear fictions being really big in a certain, on the fringe.
Like choose your own story.
Yeah, pretty much. And so on-demand video is going to take that shape, basically. And Netflix has already started testing that out with, the Black Mirror, and then recently with some kids episodes. And then it's gonna take its own form, but even like on-demand video will be very personalized and customized. Imagine watching Game of Thrones with like 300 endings, or maybe even more endings than you are not. Like your ending is different to mine. Right?
I have some opinions on the last episode, but we won't go there right now.
Okay.
Okay, so let's let me ask you this, Osama. So let's pretend that I don't know much about the internet, or I might use that. I don't know where to find all that video. Where do people go to find videos online, right?
I just go to Google to find everything, including my office address sometimes. But But the answer to this question is very geography dependent. Like YouTube is huge here, but if I were in China, I wouldn't go to YouTube. I can't go to YouTube, basically, right? So, or if I were in some Middle Eastern country, I would be going to alternate platforms. And so if you're assuming you're in North America, you'd be going to YouTube as your ward. You can go to Twitch, which is more of a live streaming platform. And then there are more niche platforms, so Vimeo has been there for some time. It's less, it's less pop culture Vimeo, but Vimeo has actually been a pretty big base for creatives and people from the movie or the film industry, or small people trying to like audition for roles and stuff. So you find a lot of nice creative clips and stuff on there.
Okay, so. Okay, now let's pretend that I'm a publisher. I'm someone that wants to make videos. How do I get it online?
So if you want to like be live streaming, Streamlabs supports all major platforms. That includes Facebook. I don't know if you know, or you might have noticed there's Facebook Live, right? So live for gaming, right? So you can be publishing, like streaming out to like Facebook, YouTube, Mixer, which is backed by Microsoft. It's also a live streaming platform. YouTube, Periscope. There's like Picarto, which is a very niche live streaming platform for artists. So people doing Photoshop and Illustrator work, they all go to Picarto. It's a small enough community, and it's a very dedicated community and a platform for basically art-based live streamers. So live streaming, you can just use our software and you can stream out, or you can use any other software. If you're doing video publication as a YouTuber, the process is pretty similar, except you're not broadcasting in real time to a server. What you do is you create, what most content creators do is they have a content calendar. and they have all these things that they feel there's a need for. They figure out the click part of it. Some people call it clickbaiting. I just think it's a smart growth hack. And then you need to learn the mechanics of the platform you want to publish on, because YouTube plays 2 ads if it's a 10-minute clip, right? And that's your ad revenue. So you need to figure out the platform and the mechanics, and then you need to tailor your content, do your video editing and publish to YouTube or whatever. You can use, when you go offline video, that industry is huge. There's a bunch of software out there. A lot of people use our software, but there's so many softwares in that space then.
So what's your interest in like blogging and streaming? Do you have?
I don't. I was telling you, I was going through my whole voice therapy transition bit, and I've always wanted to this space has interested me a lot, simply because of my long-term goal, and my long-term goal in life in general is very different from what I'm doing right now. It's not gaming, and it's more around education and poverty alleviation and ending world hunger through increasing productivity. And this is one of the pieces which plays into that play, basically. And live streaming is powerful because in China, there's a school which has about 100,000 students, and it's completely live streamed classes.
Wow.
Right? So, sorry, there are 100,000 schools with 10,000 students each.
Whoa.
And they're all
bigger.
live streamed. Yeah, sorry, that's bigger. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, so it's 100,000 schools run through a network, and it's all live streamed, and each school has 10,000 students.
Is it all, they all take like the same class?
They take the same class, so they don't have to be in the same physical location. And they can be in any village, but they're all part of the same school.
That's so
and
cool.
The whole platform is built around it, right? And that just that is like Coursera 2.0 for me.
Yeah.
And that is so much better than so I in the middle I went to a master's program, which was an online master's program. I wanted to explore, one, going to a good school in North America. 2, I wanted to explore how these online masters work. So I went to Georgia Tech, which is a top 6 school right now in comp sci. And I was utterly disappointed. And it's the same with Berkeley right now, or Stanford for that matter of fact, where they just record lectures, which are maybe even 2 years old sometimes, and they just put it on a special Coursera, and then they just dump a lot of homework for you, and they assume you're going to learn by hustling, basically, right? So
it's not tailored to the online platform.
Yeah. And it's not an in-class experience. It's not a virtual in-class experience. It's actually just walled for you, right?
Yeah.
So I think live streaming has a big role in those industries, not just gaming or entertainment in general.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that I remember you telling me that once when we worked at ACL. And I was like, whoa, someone's gonna do huge things, and you're doing it.
I don't know yet, but yeah.
You're doing it.
Trying to. Yeah.
So that's actually what I wanted to talk about next. Is kind of we've kind of heard about the gig economy is really popular right now. I can side drive for Uber, I can freelance design, but there's kind of this content creator economy happening. And education also, I think, it's
going to take a different form, but it will become part of this economy.
It's going to be kind of that same technology, but this content creator economy. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so the content creator economy is it's always existed. It just didn't have this name before, and it wasn't as, and I keep saying this term, but it wasn't as democratized before.
Yeah.
So you were a singer, an artist, an actor. You would have to go to LA and audition, and you become a creator. Or you'd have to be somewhere in New York for someone to find your art, and then you'd get an exhibition, you get an agent, or someone in London or something, right? So that always existed, but what technology has done is basically it gave every human access to. It gave them the ability to put their work out there, right? And that work can be in the form of audio, like music. It can be in the form of books, digital books. So we might all, especially people who buy a lot of books online in digital form, they might have come across this form called Gumroad. So when you're buying from people's sites, and it just this little payment processing thing pops up, and it says powered by Gumroad, right? And Gumroad is basically nothing but more than just a way to sell your books digitally online, right? But that means, that Gumroad lets me write a book on Microsoft Word, upload it to Gumroad as a PDF, and I can sell it to people now suddenly, right? And I've become an author.
So I don't need the publisher.
I don't need the publisher, right? So these creators were there, and it slowly started taking shape when this became mainstream when basically the gaming community, which was Justin.tv, Justin TV got picked up and they got acquired as Twitch, and then they this whole gaming space started growing to an extent where people started accepting gaming as a sport, right? As an e-sport, they call it an e-sport. So as an e-sport, and people realized that there are actually hundreds of thousands of people who want to watch other people. So Justin TV is not a fringe niche thing. It's actually a pretty mainstream thing. And it just exploded. There were two triggers. One was Drake and mainstream media putting some attention into it. So Drake played a famous game with Ninja, Tyler Levins, and at the same time, Fortnite was a very inclusive game that came out. It didn't have blood, it didn't have gore, it was more child friendly, and parents started seeing this game as, okay, I can give it to my kid. And it was also creative. It was letting you build while shoot people. So it was not like Call of Duty or Counter-Strike, which was very toxic at that time. So these two triggers just helped this whole thing just explode, and suddenly you had all these. Well, you've always had these YouTubers who were big, but now you just had YouTubers creating content about live streamers and games, right? And this thing just exploded over the last few years, basically. And crazy. Ninja was the sportsman of the year by ESPN last year.
I saw that.
Above Cristiano Ronaldo.
I know.
Which was big. Which was big.
Yeah, I mean, Vancouver has an official team now.
We have Vancouver Titans. We partner with them, like as Streamlabs, we support them.
Yeah.
But we also have a gaming stadium in Vancouver.
Yeah, is it done?
It's almost done.
Yeah,
yes. I don't know if those guys will kill me for this, but yeah, it's almost done. It's ready, and we have our own gaming stadium. So that's
Yeah.
So you mentioned Ninja. So within people who pay attention to streaming, Ninja is a pretty famous name.
Yeah.
And I think I remember he's making something like a million a month or $500,000 a month or something like that. Do you think this is just the new normal? Do you think that this is a bubble?
So I can't quote numbers, also because we are the biggest player in monetization, engagement, and Ninja the customer, and also we have a lot of data around this space, which is also a competitive advantage. But I won't say it's a bubble simply because it's not that people who are not creating value are able to sustain. So Ninja is not there because he's not making whatever dollar amount you quoted, because he's got this hype around him. That hype has slowed down. It was there. It was there when he had 150,000 people watching him 12 hours a day for weeks, right? So that was hype. But now it's normalized. He's got 40, 50,000, 30,000 concurrent viewers at a time. Over the span of 12 hours, of course, 24 million people must have come in, saw maybe they must have seen 10 minutes of the video and gone away. But concurrently, 24, 30, 40,000 people are watching him. And it's not really a bubble, because he's got skill. He's very engaging, and he can not just him but other streamers. They connect with their audience. So my wife wasn't a big viewer of streams, and when I started Streamlab, she was into gaming, but she wasn't into watching streams a lot. She started watching streams, and she has her own 4 or 5 go-to streamers. And she is almost part of a cult. So I don't think she's going away. She knows the dog's name of the streamer. So that's because what happens is people start engaging with them, not just on stream. That's what people don't realize. All these streamers have Discord servers, which have thousands of people on them, but they're able to chat with this one celebrity young boys are looking up to at times, and this celebrity is telling them to, hustle hard in life, go study, do this, If someone has a bad day, or they've had a breakup, some of these guys just go hey, I just had a breakup, and there are like 1,000 people. Just because he's part of the Discord server, they all come in, and the streamer's there on stream or part of the chat, and he's like, hey guy, this is what you need to do. I had a breakup when I was 14, and I eventually found my girlfriend when I was like 19. We're like, together now, and I'm like 20 something. So it's yes, there's a lot of negative to it as well sometimes, but I see responsible streamers, the ones who become big like Ninja, they do it very responsibly, and they're building communities around them. So I don't think it's a bubble. There was some hype around it, and now it's like at a very normalized level. But it's
when I was doing some research around this, so I was looking at YouTube, I was looking at Twitch, and not YouTube streaming. It's just like the typical YouTube video. Someone pre-records it, edits it, polishes it, uploads it. And one thing that I noticed is YouTube felt more like classical TV, which if you're younger, you probably never really seen much, but it feels like broadcast. Like a publisher puts it up, you watch the video, you might comment, but they don't even really participate in the comments section. When I went onto Twitch, it felt like you were making friends. It actually felt more like Twitter at the beginning of Twitter. So it's like you watch it, and it's like you feel like you have a relationship with that person, and like they're talking to you, you're chatting, they're talking to you back, right? It's very like one-on-one. It feels like
very sync. It is sync.
It feels like you're getting to know someone. It feels like a friend, right? And it sounds like what you're describing is the Discord server. It's a lot like that too, right? Like it's not just necessarily the streamer talking to you; it's all these other people. So you're part of a community. You're making friends, online friends. But I mean, like even with Twitter, there's some people that I've been talking to like for 10 years, and I consider them friends. I've never met them before in my life, like face to face, but I consider them friends. And some of these people I've actually met before. Some of these people, like if they've come to Vancouver, I met up with them, or if I travel to where they live, I meet up with them. But I've made friends to this, and Twitch feels more like that, at least to me.
So some of these streamers actually even have their own mini conference where all their fans come together.
Oh, that's interesting. Like who?
So like Nick Marks, he does this. He calls his community MFAM, Marks Fam, I think. And so the MFAM, they meet every year at a location. This year they met in LA, but that's what they do somewhere around within the US though. But and like hundreds of people show up.
Okay.
It's not like 10, 15. It's like hundreds of people, and they have to like book a big space because and then you just sit with them. You sit with your streamer. You do many things, but
hundreds of people for a conference is actually quite a lot. Okay, so it's not a bubble, right?
Doesn't seem like one.
No.
Okay, so what do you think is coming for the future of like this vlogging, this streaming, this video podcast, like all this stuff? What do you think the future is going to look like?
So the future is actually, I'm generally very optimistic about these things, but the future is more niches picking up, and by that I mean gaming's just been one space. It was very digital. Interestingly, the audience for gaming was very tech native, I would say. They were born into modern form of technology, so they adopted it really quickly. But everybody's moms are on Facebook and Snapchat now and Instagram, so you're like leaving those platforms for other platforms because they're on there now. So what's happening is they have become mobile native, and they have become native to this new form of media, right? And the interesting thing is all of them are used to live TV because they're all used to watching live news from the 80s and 90s, and they're used to watching live sports, which kind of disappeared now because of broadcasting rights and all sorts of stuff, but like they're still used to that. Like they have that memory, right? So when they are turned on live, it will be a completely different world. They no matter what people say, they are craving the same engagement. Imagine a political talk show where our parents could engage with the participants, basically, right? And with the next election coming up and all this fake news business happening, I think that is huge. That is huge, right? Like, and there is no such platform. And Bernie Sanders kind of started doing that. I'm not a huge Bernie fan. Like, I'm not a like yeah, I'm generally away from politics, but yeah, but Bernie did that recently. He started live streaming through Periscope his rallies and stuff, right? So
Wow.
yeah.
Huh. Streaming is the new TV.
Streaming has been the new TV in other parts of the world. In North America, yes, it will catch on.
Yeah, tell us about other parts of the world. Like we're just so behind.
Yeah, it's funny how like Charles, you've been to Pakistan. It's all Pakistani news channels live stream to YouTube.
Mhm.
So you can like without paying any money, you can watch a cable TV news channel live on YouTube anywhere in the world.
Wow.
Right? And you kind of can't do that here. Like even like CBC is like very, it's very regulated in what they show you online because they want, of course, for you to get a cable. And I think that's a function of the telecom, which I'm not a huge fan of in Canada, being a very dominant player. But that whole value chain is breaking, and I think the reason North America has been behind, or especially Canada, has been behind, is because of the infrastructure. And it got deconstructed in other parts of the world way sooner, and it got cheaper to access faster internet and higher data limits or no data limits in some places, and that's why it's very different. It wasn't as high speed, but it was accessible, right? So it was available and accessible everywhere to all formats. And if you go to like China, Indonesia, Thailand, Middle East, all these parts of the world. Video is a big format that people consume. And you asked about changing trends. Something else that's changing, and you'll notice this on Netflix, is consumer behavior is leaning towards. So like Two and a Half Men, the beauty wasn't. Well, it was a beautiful show in many ways, right? But the beauty wasn't in the story. It was in the certainty that you're going to be on an emotional roller coaster for like 30 minutes and you'll end up happy at the end of 30 minutes. You'll have a good laugh and that's it. That's your 30 minutes of joy, right? And humans got trained to it and we got trained to like 30-minute things. What's happened now is like people are getting used to shorter form of video because our attention spans are decreasing. Yeah. And people are wanting like instant shots of awe, as one of the guy calls on YouTube, and he's got this whole thing, right? So it's like people want these 10 minutes of instant information or joy or entertainment, and that's it, right? And that's what Netflix is also A/B testing these days with various series, and you're seeing that. So that trend has caught up in other parts of the world. You have shows which are shorter, and it's going to come here. So North America is going to catch up. Actually, it's already there in other parts of the world. So we're going to have shorter video, and there's this platform. It's called Quibi. They got $1 billion seed funding.
What's Quibi?
Quibi is Quick Bites.
Is it kind of like TikTok?
It's TikTok, but it's AAA studio production. So it's
large budgets.
It's like it's built by the guy who built DreamWorks SKG. So you can imagine that, and all the big studios have backed him and an exec from HP, who was head of enterprise sales. They've come together. They're building a Netflix for short form media. And imagine Netflix originals but short form, accessible on mobile. And video is hard to do on mobile right now because mobile is like this, like that's how you see your phone, that's how you hold it. But videos are all in widescreen, right? So you have to turn your phone. Yeah. So that means, video needs to change. It can't be wide anymore. And that's why on YouTube you started seeing vertical videos. That is for mobile.
Wow.
So yeah.
Great trend to talk about. Before we move on to talking about YouTube, Twitch, and Streamlabs, what do you think everyone should know about streaming online video?
I think if you're looking for entertainment beyond Netflix, there's a lot of stuff you can find out there. ASMR is a huge category. There's a whole mental health thing around it. In fact, Reese Canada is going to do a very big campaign where they're going to tell their story, but it is produced it is told by 5 or something big ASMR artists. I don't know if you know what ASMR is.
No, tell us.
Okay, so ASMR is this. Actually, I don't know the full medical term, but it's like certain sounds basically trigger certain parts of certain humans,
Mhm.
and it soothes them or it gives them a calming effect.
Mhm.
And for some people it's scratching something, for some people it's sound of someone chewing something. It became like there was a form of it known as mukbang, which became really famous, where people used to watch girls eat soup or stuff,
Yeah.
and people were like, why is someone watching someone else eat soup?
Yeah.
But apparently there's a lot of research around it, and for some people those sounds are just soothing.
I assumed it was sexual somehow.
It does. Yeah, there is that element to it too, I would say, right? And there are people exploiting it that way.
Mhm.
But and the thing is, like, not every trigger is for everybody.
Mhm.
So there are like thousands of such people who are trying to find the trigger, and then there are people searching for their trigger. And somehow, again, it's all about attention deficiency in society in general, and people looking for quick fixes to, maybe deeper problems. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's switch topics. Let's get more into YouTube.
Okay.
So let's start basic. What is YouTube?
YouTube is a platform where producers of video post their videos and consumers of video consume those videos and leave comments.
Yeah, it's a particular company.
Yeah.
It's probably the most famous one and most popular one. Like I've traveled to some other parts of the world, like even in for example, like Korea, right? Like when I was there, they have Kakao.
That's Kakao, yeah.
Kakao Video, Africa TV, Africa TV.
Yeah.
But YouTube also, right? YouTube is huge there.
Yeah.
It's huge in a lot of places. Often, like for example, like for myself, like I consume it on the mobile phone. I also have a Chromecast at home that I'll broadcast there sometimes. I wish the damn Chromecast would play more than one time speed. Like I read very fast, right? And I come to video, it's like, holy crap, this is slow, right? And one thing that's nice about YouTube is I can go 2 times speed. I wish it would go to 3 times speed or more, right? But it goes 2 times, so it's a little more bearable. But I broadcast it to the Chromecast and it's 1 time speed, and that's just so frustrating. And there's a lot of stuff I won't watch on Chromecast just because of that. Okay, I'm going on the tangent, so I'm going to stop. Let's define another term. So we have YouTube, the website, the mobile app. One thing you hear sometimes is a YouTuber. What's a YouTuber?
The YouTuber is someone who basically publishes content to YouTube, like videos to YouTube, and almost makes a living off it.
Yeah.
And to give you an idea of like what kind of money these guys make is, it depends on it's all ad generated generally, or at least that is the biggest chunk of their revenue as a YouTuber. But they also make money through affiliate links or sponsorships or just intro and outro ads that they play within their video. So when a video would start, they would show logos for certain products or maybe even a short clip about a certain product. They do their video, and when they're going out, they do the same. So they take money for that spot in addition to the YouTube ad running on top of the video, right? And then of course people have figured out all sorts of ways. In their description, they would put a special affiliate link. You click on it, you get a discount, they get affiliate money. Right, stuff like that. But there are YouTubers who make like 70, 80K per video that they upload, and this is completely based on these different, mechanics I told you.
Yeah.
Wow. So who's watching YouTube? I mean, I know I watch YouTube.
Almost
YouTube.
everybody. Almost everybody. It's amazing that like you only talk about YouTube, and we don't talk about things that were built on top of YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Something like, like there's this app called Neverthink. I don't know if you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So Neverthink is basically a viewing app available across multiple platforms, from your watch to your phone to your Apple TV or whatever. And all it does is it has like these college students as curators, and they actually watch or go through millions of videos, and they categorize them. And Neverthink is like a prettier interface to watching YouTube. So you can just go like cat videos, you click on cat, and it'll just infinitely feed you cat videos. Right? And it just does a very good job at doing that, right?
So, and there's people manually curating it.
And there's people manually curating it till video analysis tech or machine learning gets there, and you can do it using ML.
That sounds dangerous.
I actually just installed it as you were talking.
Yeah.
That sounds dangerous.
There goes like half an hour a day.
millions of puppy videos.
Oh, it has, yeah.
Can you tell us about the different ways of publishing on YouTube? Just a few different.
I personally haven't published a lot on YouTube, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've mostly live streamed using our software or OBS Studio or Streamlabs OBS. But I'm sure you can like upload, but I've personally not done a lot of publishing to you. No. I'm not an expert on that.
Well, there's like the pre-recorded way.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then- So you can like, we could have not done this live.
Yeah, we could have like recorded it, yeah.
And then like edited it out.
Oh, you're talking about
Times we messed
simpler
up.
stuff.
Simpler.
Okay. Yeah,
Slow down.
simpler stuff. It's you can record it and then you edit it in some editing software. You add your intro, outro, you upload to YouTube. The most critical thing is the title you choose, the tags you use, the category you post your video to, and most importantly, the thumbnail you pick.
Yeah.
Right, the thumbnails on YouTube is what makes people click, and a click means your ads run and stuff runs, so you monetize your video.
What makes a good thumbnail?
You mean a clickbaity thumbnail or a good thumbnail?
Clickbaity.
Both. Let's go to both. Like, do each one.
Okay, so I think clickbaity stuff is good for the short run, but people, and there are people who love that stuff. They just like to watch, or they love getting trolled in a way. So they like to watch there's this whole thing called live stream fails, and these are videos of like things going wrong on a live stream, right? And people just like wasting time. So all those cover thumbnails are clickbaity. They'll be like, he didn't know he was gonna die. Or stuff like that, right? Or she didn't know the camera was on, and then you'd be like, you see the thumbnail of a girl sitting on a live stream, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna click on this, right? And then so there's that stuff, and there's audience for it, and they are okay with it. But if you're producing content like educational material, I think colorful images, of course, stand out. Most people use it in dark. Now people are switching to dark mode, but most YouTube consumers use it still in the light mode, in the white background. So a nice bright image really shows up. Also because they add this whole opacity on top of your YouTube thumbnail, so bright colors really stand out, and having a very concise title. What's really important with YouTube content is the timing, which is really important because if there's a new season of a certain game or a certain season of a certain show, TV show, people are searching for it. Right, and that's what you see on YouTube. Like, there's so much about like the Avengers Endgame trailers, right?
Yeah.
You didn't know this will happen, or the real ending, or behind the scenes, and there's like trailer of a trailer kind of videos, and the thing is, because the algorithm is still not as perfect, it keeps serving these things to people, and once you've worked around that, you've gotten a few thousand clicks, you start showing up at different places, and and there's this whole other thing about YouTube farming, but I will not go there.
So can you tell us what is YouTube Super Chat?
Oh, YouTube Super Chat is their way of monetization, basically. So like how Twitch lets you subscribe to a streamer, where you say, I'm gonna pay this person $5 a month, even if they don't get that $5 fully, but I'll pay them $5 a month. And because I want to support them, I like them playing games, and then often people ask me, what do they get in return? Why do I want to give you? Like, I don't want to give it to you just for entertainment. And what you actually get is online credentials, or you get online validation, because when you're chatting, it shows besides your name on Twitch that you're a subscriber, or tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 subscribers. So all these tiers have different price points, right? And what the other thing you get, which is the funniest thing, is this thing called emotes or emoticons, if you're my age, right? And emoticons are like when you're happy, you want to say, hey, like whatever, like smile or hi, but these are like very custom emoticons. They're not just the smiley that we're used to. These are like very custom to the streamer. So when you use them, people respect you, basically.
Yeah.
So you're just buying that. Now YouTube Super Chat is basically their play on this whole Twitch ecosystem.
Well, it wasn't just Twitch, was it? I remember like Periscope had stuff like this, and also Busker. There was this one online video system. I think like.
So all platforms they built this mechanic and like with different names. So Mixer has the same thing. And Mixer calls it something else. Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to like. I mean, YouTube often gets credit for stuff because it's the one everyone knows, but like a lot of stuff like other people did first.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so let's say that video's like really cool. You want to get started and you want to become a creator, creating videos on YouTube, whether it's streaming or like creating videos, editing it in a software like Adobe Premiere or Caden Live or whatever, and you upload it. Like, okay, what does someone need to do to get started as a creator on YouTube?
I know creators who are like 12-year-old and 11-year-old, and they use their mommy's credit cards. That's when we found out they were 11 years old. But then mommy found out it's okay, so she let it be. But you don't really need a lot right now. You can literally just pick up your phone, mount it, and you can start streaming to the world. That's one part. The other part is you can just take a GoPro, go for a hike, assemble a video of the best hikes around Vancouver. There's so many of them, and there's so many videos about these, by the way.
Yeah.
But and you can just you don't even need to buy like complicated fancy software. Sometimes you can get away with free things, and that's what people don't realize. Like the Streamlabs OBS software or the original OBS open source software, both of them are free. You can download it right now, and you can run a video as a scene and your webcam in there, and you can talk about your experience of that hike, and you can just click record the video, save it, and just upload it to YouTube. It really depends. Like our chief operating officer, she's she's a professional sailor, so she just takes like her GoPro, connects it to her iPhone using our app, and then she just streams on Twitch all her sales. Basically. She's like competing for the Olympics kind of sales. So she just live streams there.
Yeah.
And it's not like she says I'm a content creator, but that's what she's doing.
Yeah.
She is creating content, and there are like 10-15 people watching her at times without any marketing.
Zero.
Yeah, zero marketing.
Yeah. Cool. So let me ask you this. Okay, so you're like a YouTuber. You're creating videos. You might be streaming. You might be editing videos and uploading it. What does it take to become successful on YouTube?
I think it takes a lot of grit and analyzing content. There are two things, right? So you won't find success in your first or second video, maybe if you're lucky you do, right? But it's really, some people think it's about having unique content, and to some extent that is true. In the long run, you need to have some differentiating strategy, but sometimes you can just have similar content. So like if you go to YouTube and you search for like Red Arcade right now, Red Arcade is basically an aggregator. So what they do is people send them clips of Fortnite games, right? So things that happen, the game glitched, someone just died, or the game glitched and the skin that you were wearing in the game it just got flipped to something else, or I'm shooting at you and you're gonna die, something like that, right? People, but they're more funny than what I'm telling you. They're funnier stuff, right? So if people send them these clips, they aggregate it and they make YouTube videos. So maybe you're not even producing your content, you're just an aggregator, and you're giving people like $5 each for every clip submitted through a Typeform page. Basically, you don't even need to code anything. Right?
Yeah.
And you just as long as you can reach enough people to get the content and compile it, and you just upload it, you're now a YouTuber content creator, right? But then people are doing all sorts of stuff. I know girls who travel all over the world. That whole hand at the back thing, and they just upload those things to YouTube. And there are people who just stream about food, and they stream a lot about food So and there's almost audience for everything in this world. It's like you'll find your niche eventually.
Yeah. Do you have to post regularly, or is it like?
Yes. So having a content calendar is a very important thing, because if I start watching you and I like your content, I want to know that you will be available the next time I want to watch you. And that is very, very critical, and that's where the grit part comes in, where you're streaming or uploading to YouTube, like doing VODs. You have to be gritty, and you have to just slave through that initial cycle. And some people do, like Ninja. People go like, hey, Ninja is so awesome, he's making money. But that guy has been doing this since he was like 12, 13 from his mom's basement. And he's in his 20s now, but he's been doing it for the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
When nobody was watching.
Yeah,
He was hustling.
He streamed like 12 hours sometimes.
Yeah, he's reduced that now,
Yeah.
and because like they've become professional. They're also trying to not do the things that they used to do, so that the next generation doesn't pick those habits up.
Yeah.
And that's just like coders or anything else, right? Where you don't want people working like 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, he used to like play all day and just be all natural. Just he was himself for the longest time.
Yeah. I guess when you get started and you're streaming, it's can be a little tough because you're streaming and nobody's watching yet, but you have to do it to build the audience. And you stream for a while, nobody watches, and then eventually, you have 1 or 2, 3 people watching, and then it catches on. You have 10, you have 20, you have 100, you have 1,000, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I can tell you a story, right? Like so there's a streamer who uses our tool. She's big, and she used to have like 2,000, 3,000 concurrent viewers. And so the face mask thing I was telling you about, where you can apply filters to people's faces, which is like a Snapchat for our thing, our space. It's live stream.
Yeah.
So she was doing that, and she got featured on the Twitch homepage today, right?
Oh.
And she went up to like 12,000 viewers. So for like 2 hours, she had like 12,000 viewers, and we had her team versus Streamlabs team League of Legends game today, and of course we crushed it because we have some professionals on our team. But so that's how. And now I'm pretty sure when she goes back, some of those 12,000 people are gonna stay with her.
Yeah.
So her 2,000 number just got bumped up to like 5,000.
Yeah.
Right. So
I heard a lot of stories where like people. Ninja just like mentioned them and they got thousands of followers.
So there's this mechanic within the Twitch ecosystem, but this can also happen through a different mechanic in YouTube, and that is people go and host you or they raid your stream. So I'm a big streamer, I'm going offline now. I have like 30,000 people who were watching me. So I can do the simple thing of just end broadcast, that's it. But a lot of these large streamers, what they started doing is they go find this really small streamer streaming the same game or same content, and they just go like press raid. So it's literally a button, and all their viewers start seeing this stream. So someone who was sitting with like 500 people playing Zelda suddenly has like 35,000 people, and holy crap. Right? And YouTubers do the same thing through collaborations and plugging other YouTubers into their thing, because people have started realizing, they can only produce content themselves until some time, and then they need to collaborate for fresh ideas, fresh content.
Yeah.
And so it's also part of like paying forward and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Cool. So here's another question. Okay, so someone's decided, okay, I want to become a creator on YouTube. Okay, so what's you said like you can use like your phone to stream.
Yeah.
There's free software. So why don't we go into that a bit? Like, what kind of equipment, what kind of software do you think a YouTube creator needs to stream onto YouTube? So let's go into like some details a bit.
So do you want to talk about streaming or VODs?
Let's
slightly. So I'll talk about VODs and then we can.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that.
So basically, as I said, there's this paper pencil version where you pick up a phone and you start streaming. Phone cameras are pretty good, but I know that YouTubers are once they start seeing traction, they get more professional, and they have this whole setup where people are buying professional cameras. They get soundboards, they get video capture cards. So you are basically, when you're processing video, it takes a lot of CPU, GPU, right? It depends on the software you're using, right? And that means you're basically encoding video with a lot of effects and a lot of scenes and transitions and fancy stuff. So it takes a lot of CPU power, and if you have a nice camera, that means your input is very high quality and so huge size, right? So YouTubers have all sorts of crazy setups where they have like a single PC, which is a really beefed up machine. Some of them have 2 PCs, and they basically produce their content on one, but they encode it and they prepare it for a YouTube upload on the other. So it really depends, and that's where they start getting hardware like capture cards and professional cameras and mics and like the whole blue microphone companies blown up because thanks to YouTubers and live streamers, right? So they have these all sorts of mics, and mics then come with their own signs. They have these screens to and then if you don't like the sound of your voice, you're gonna start getting audio systems for playing with your pitch, or you can even do it in software, but you can do it hardware based too. But when you go into live streaming, I would say that's a step further than just doing more YouTube, because now, especially gaming is interesting because you're playing a game. Games are pretty CPU GPU intensive because most of these games are like professional, like AAA titles, right? So they're taking your CPU resources, and now you want to like take that, add some cosmetics to it, and you want to publish it all out to a live streaming server. And that means the game and that stuff needs to live either on the same PC or two PCs, but you need to be interacting with both at the same time. And that's where like shameless plug, but Streamlabs comes in. Yeah. So basically, we don't do any hardware, we do software, but our software is, the margin we have to run is 3 to 5% CPU. Basically, CPU, GPU. We only have like 3 to 5% of that, and everything else we have to give it to the game. But professional streamers, streamers who are playing from using there are small streamers, there are kids who have laptops, and they're playing using laptops, and they're still streaming to YouTube or Twitch or any other platform, and they do it using Streamlabs OBS or software, and the game on the same PC or laptop. And as soon as you become a decent enough streamer and you start seeing traction and you're like, I want to become a professional streamer, you go into a complicated setup where you have a gaming PC and you have a streaming PC. And it goes like you play your game and your output goes through a capture card and you see it on your monitor, but the same output goes into your second PC as input. And over there, you're actually encoding your video and sending it out to whatever's Twitch or YouTube server. And not just that, but because like you're interacting with people while you're playing your game, you have to like change scenes. So like I think Charles is doing on this podcast right now.
Yeah,
right.
So some of the stuff you're describing, we have in this office right now.
Yeah, so you're changing scenes, right? You're showing my face and then your face and Lauren's face, or maybe like different orientations.
We're also doing split screen sometimes.
Split screens. So to do it faster, this hardware was made by a company called Elgato, which later got acquired by Corsair. So Elgato makes this thing called the Stream Deck. It's like 6 buttons, and they're programmed to do, to switch scenes while you're streaming. So in Streamlabs OBS or OBS Studio, the original software, you can set various scenes and various configurations, just like Photoshop, drag things around and be like, I want this camera to be here and this text to be here and this image to be here. Scene number 2, I want this image to move here, right? And now you can click and switch between those scenes, or you can have a Stream Deck sitting on your desk and you just press a button and it switches to scene 2, scene 3, scene 4. And you have a very professional grade production quality, like Hollywood production quality almost, and you can do that, right? So there's some hardware, some software there. Live streaming, there's people have started. There's other parts of live streaming which I hope to talk about, which are not PG-13. There's this whole industry of things which get activated and then things that happen, So streamers spend like thousands of dollars. We have a streaming room in our office as well, and our setups are pretty professional, and it's like $10,000-$15,000 per setup.
Yeah. So the equipment. So I got into first I got into audio.
Yeah.
Then I got into online video. And I think I have about $20,000 worth of equipment here.
Yeah.
And so I don't have a Elgato, but what I have sitting in front of me, like here, is a Roland VR1 HD. So I have these buttons, and okay, like for example, like here's me switching to camera 1, that's me. Here's me switching to camera 2, that's Lauren. Here's me switching to camera 3, that's you. And I can do split screen. So now 2 of us are split screen, and now you're going to be split screen with Lauren. I can do picture in picture. I don't find it like that useful though, but so I mean like Lauren's like picture in picture on my thing. So but anyways, like this machine is pretty powerful, right? And there's like all sorts of different things. But anyways,
But imagine doing all this while playing a game, and all your like your fingers are occupied. You're talking, you're engaging, you're looking at. So people have like 5 to 6 monitor setups with like 2 PCs and like an air conditioning and a dehumidifier, like all sorts of stuff in these professional stream rooms. Ninja's stream room was built by Red Bull. There's a whole video on YouTube about it. I don't know if you've seen it.
It's crazy.
It's a pretty insane setup, and so things can get pretty crazy if you want to. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So here's another question. How does a YouTube creator make money on YouTube? Like, what are the different ways? And this could be like whether it's officially part of YouTube or maybe some side channel ways.
So the official part of YouTube is the ad revenue, basically.
Yeah.
And then everything else is informal around it.
Yeah.
And that is, you can do plugs in videos, shout outs to apps. Actually, there are 2 ways of doing YouTube-based ads. One is, of course, your ad revenue. But now recently, YouTube has also started promoting apps under the video, just above the description. So if you have a mobile app, you can publish it out through the Google Ad Network or AdMob, and your app will get under certain types of videos, and of course the original content creator gets a share of that rev share from that ad being shown under their video. So that's the YouTube stuff. Other than YouTube, the streamers have they do sponsored. YouTubers have sponsored videos where they just a company gives them X dollars and they cover a certain product as a review. They do. They get affiliate links where they have they introduce a product but they're not given money, and what they're given is a certain code which when the viewers apply, the viewers get a discount and the YouTuber gets a referral fee. In a way, right? An affiliate fee. There's that, and then there's the thing I told you about, YouTubers playing ads, their own version of ads before and after their video or during their video, where they give shout outs and plugs. These are some very, very obvious ways YouTubers are making money.
There's super chat too.
And of course, that's the live stream bit where there's a super chat. Yes.
Yeah. What about like I think there's like YouTube Red where you can have like paid videos. Like there's that too, right?
So there's that, but not every YouTuber has access to it. That's what I know right now. So yes, YouTube is going into premium content, just like Netflix. They want you to basically pay for premium content and YouTube originals as it's coming out now.
Yeah, I heard about that happening for a while. I just it didn't have a name when I first heard rumors about it.
Yeah. But even now, I think it's just that would you ever use a Snapchat-like feature on Facebook? I don't know. I would not. It's just that like certain platforms they have a certain perception in the consumer's mind, and it's very hard for them to get out of that, right? So YouTube's trying to do short videos, all sorts of stuff, vertical videos, but I don't think it'll be YouTube which will be able to nail it. They will have a user base because their existing user base is huge. So some people will always not switch platforms, but yeah. So
there's one YouTube original that I've had a friend of mine tell me to watch. I haven't watched it yet. This dates me obviously. I'm older than both of you.
Yeah.
But there was a movie that came out a long time ago when I was a kid called Karate Kid.
Yeah.
And there's now a YouTube original. I think it's called Cobra Kai, right? So within Karate Kid, there was a gym, and it was called the Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine's watching this. He's been telling me to like watch and watch. It's a YouTube original. You have to pay for it. I haven't watched it yet, but at least with like some of it seems to be catching on a bit, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about something else. YouTube multi-channel network, or MCN. Like, what is that?
So multi-channel networks are basically, or actually, even before talking about multi-channel networks, what we need to understand is when this whole YouTube thing became popular, talent agencies, which used to previously, do Bill Murray and bigger like Oprah Winfrey kind of artists, they started looking at these people as celebrities, and there are certain YouTubers who do have celebrity status. So they came into play and they said we're gonna manage this pool of talent just like conventional Hollywood talent or artists, and that's where that was the need which multi-channel networks serve now basically. So these are just multiple artists who are part of the same network, and they generally have curated content which is around certain things, and they just release the stuff, they drop it at the same time, and they might have very different perspectives or different viewerships or different demographics, but they will just drop that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So YouTube can be used for streaming games, but it also has like a ton of other content, like pretty much anything. Like you can learn to code on YouTube, or like you can
Cook or
learn to
paint.
do your makeup
Yeah.
or whatever. And we mentioned Twitch a little bit. We'll probably talk about it more, but it feels to me at least, and throughout our research, that YouTube hasn't caught on for gaming as much as Twitch has, even though it's still big. Why do you think that is?
So that was true until last year.
Yeah.
And what's happened is, so there are two factors in there, right? And numbers are like, and coming from data science, data engineering, numbers you can fool yourself and you can fool others with it very easily, right?
Absolutely.
Like so
Is
so
a good
so.
book Lying with
Lying with numbers, statistics.
Yes.
Lying with statistics. That's a great book. Everybody should read it so that you don't fool yourself, even if you're fooling others. Simply because it's very easy, and so YouTube had this thing called YouTube Gaming for the longest time, gaming.youtube.com, right? And that was their go-to platform if you wanted to watch other people play games. Now, the advantage that YouTube had was YouTube servers are all over the world. Their scale is bigger than Twitch, so there are markets which are underserved by Twitch, like India, huge market, billion people. Indonesia, 500 something million people, close to a billion now, huge market, underserved by Twitch because they don't have infrastructure there to serve videos, right? So gaming.youtube became really famous in those parts of the world, Dubai, say, or Middle East in general, right? Now, YouTube realized that it has become big, but it's not as big as Twitch in North America, simply because North America has more gamers, or gamers willing to stream.
Yeah.
So what they did is they took that and they killed gaming.youtube and they merged their live traffic into their existing YouTube platform. So now everything is in one part, and suddenly their user number is huge.
Yeah.
It's like 5x of Twitch. But even now, when you go like, okay, so YouTube gaming, like just gaming, people playing games on YouTube, not watching old videos and stuff, live gaming on YouTube, yes, that is smaller than Twitch. It will not change anytime soon. And there's a very interesting play there, and that is one, yes, Twitch has a first mover advantage, they have the community, they have that, but there's a bigger play there. There's Amazon backing Twitch, and there's Prime backing Twitch. And when you get Amazon Prime, you get $5 free to subscribe to one streamer per month for free, basically, right? And that means I can go to any random streamer, give them $5. But if you look at the number of Prime users in the world right now, and all their kids have access to this free $5, that means there's like $100 million economy. Actually, $100 million free money to be taken if you're on Twitch, right? As long as you can capture that free subscription, that's free money for you.
Are you going to create a Twitch channel and try to capture that money?
Me personally?
Yeah.
No, I've had ideas, but no.
Okay.
I do back a few content creators, and they use my ideas to get that money.
Okay.
That way.
Okay, cool. So let's dig into some other topics on YouTube. Okay, so there's been a handful of times where there's something has happened on YouTube, something controversial.
Yeah.
And it's caused advertisers to kind of pull out. YouTube made some changes, and then the advertisers came back in, but like things were different for the YouTubers, right? And some people have given this the name adpocalypse, right?
Yeah.
So advertising adpocalypse. What are your thoughts on this?
I think that's gonna happen. So wherever there's content, there's not a lot of policing, there's not a regulation, and at the scale that the content is being created, it's very hard to do it, using humans, basically.
Like
right?
impossible.
And we've all heard of the horror stories of a Facebook moderator in the Philippines and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys have, but
No.
sitting and moderating content for Facebook, basically, right?
Okay.
It's like it's more of it's very easy to criticize Facebook or YouTube, but it's very hard to sympathize and understand that even they don't know how to solve this problem right now, and they actually acknowledge that. But they're just trying they're trying their best to do it. As advertisers, I think like soap sellers are a different category of humans themselves because they don't care about sympathizing with the issue of the platform. All they care about is selling more soaps.
Yeah.
So they have a different problem they're optimizing for, right? And if we all believe in the fact that yes, content creation is something that is to be done, we are all producing content continuously as humans. We will have to build systems, right? And maybe these companies are the best ones right now who can build it. We don't have the answer yet, and it will take time. So I'm an optimist, and I think it will just take some time to build it. I understand the perspective of the advertisers, but if they have a better solution, sure, do that, or reach 100,000 people with one guy if they can.
Yeah.
Which they can.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into another controversy that happened on YouTube. So one thing that some people are talking about now is that YouTube is engaging in censorship of political content on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's not just that they're censoring political content; they're censoring some political content. Yeah, while letting other political content had a pass, and it's making some people feel that YouTube has a political agenda and YouTube is biased in certain ways. I think like some of the articles I've seen, I think from the CEO of YouTube kind of feeds into this, and that she gave a political opinion, right? And her political opinion was consistent with how censoring was happening on YouTube. What do you think about this?
So, humans are biased, and that starts reflecting in whatever machine learning algorithm is running in whatever ecosystem. Right? And this is where my personal hypothesis comes in, where all these giants will be disaggregated, and you will have. We're literally going to live in the Hunger Games, where you'll have pockets of people who associate with a certain set of values, and they will find virtual online communities and they will stick to that. And that's where, yes, YouTube is huge. YouTube is maybe too liberal, or it's leaning towards a certain school of thought.
I would say leftist rather than liberal.
Leftist. Okay, leftist. Yeah. Liberal definition. Yeah, leftist would be a term, right? And maybe this is an opportunity for someone to build something which is more towards the right. And there have been platforms for the alt-right and other stuff, right? So
yeah, the challenge, like I've followed this a bit, and the challenge is like, so I mean, someone creates a alternate platform, and then a lot of the people who are marginalized kind of rush over to that. But like a lot of times, a lot of other people find their opinions very offensive. Right, like Gab is one of them, right? So I mean, Gab is, as far as I understand it, it's just like they just let anything go. It's a free speech platform, that's their thing. But then you get a lot of people who, like, even though they might be for free speech, they really don't like a lot of the people that came on there, right? But it's like, okay, we're going to stick to our principles, regardless of whether we like these individuals, what they're saying or not. We're going to allow them there. And I've seen a lot of stuff where it seems like, I think like Visa or MasterCard or the payment processor shut them down, and like Apple was trying to shut them down. Like everyone's trying to shut them down. Yeah. So it's like you see people trying to create these alternate platforms, so like everyone seems to be out to get them.
So it's a pretty polarized world right now, right? But that is also leading to a lot of opportunity for some players. It is also leading to a lot of neutral players coming into play. And some people trying to leverage this situation and this whole blockchain. I call it a bubble, but yes, a blockchain bubble to some extent, where you go like, all of this doesn't have to be centralized or controlled by a certain authority.
Mine's is, I think, another one that I've heard people doing in terms of like Gab seems to be a Twitter alternative. Mine seems to also be a Twitter alternative, and then there's like DTube, I think, is a cryptocurrency kind of back one, and I think they recently attracted someone really famous onto it.
Yeah. I don't know actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So let's focus on something else a bit. Now, I mentioned this kind of before, and I'll just bring it up again. So I think it was maybe a year ago. I was talking because Lauren and I are also kind of in the online video space. But when I was talking to people, one thing I heard is that YouTube is looking to move away from community type content, and community content is like the content anyone can create, right? Yeah. And okay, so you have the community type content, and this is just like random people doing it on shoestring budgets, and some of them become kind of like prosumer types where they like me, I paid like $20,000 for this equipment. And then you have Netflix with these giant kind of like Hollywood style budgets, or like at least TV style budgets, right? And what I heard is that YouTube wants to move in the space between that. They want to have, stuff where there's money behind these budgets, but it's not going to be as much as Netflix, right? So it's going to be smaller budgets. And what's coming with that, it seems, is that it's not going to be just anyone who can receive this. They're going to pick and choose who gets to do this. It's going to be their choice, and they're going to promote this over the community content. And the way I heard the rumor is that they're not as interested in the community content anymore. They're not going to kill it immediately, but they're looking to more push the this kind of like stuff that's budgeted, that's just under Netflix. And like fast forward now, I'm seeing these YouTube originals, and it seems to be consistent with this rumor. Have you heard these rumors? And if you have, like,
so
what are your thoughts?
I know some details around that.
Okay.
But all I'll say is that it's not completely wrong what you're saying.
Okay.
You must have heard of TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So TikTok is pushing a lot of, or taking away a lot of the short form random producer videos, consumers of random producers away from platforms like YouTube, right? And that means they need to find a new play because people again are looking for short form video or they're looking for a story, right? And like short form is like 30-second Insta stories or TikTok videos or whatever. Or they're looking for like a 20-30 minute kind of an entertainment package. And that's where Netflix hypothesis is we're going to keep producing originals, which is data driven. Netflix is very data driven when it produces content. Like they have a whole studio production engineering team which just optimizes on what time should an actor step on the floor and step off the floor. That's the kind of like machine learning they do and play data on. So there's one Netflix hypothesis, and YouTube is like, how can I leverage the network of YouTubers or micro influencers or the whole influencer band of people? How can I use them to basically do the same thing as Netflix but at a lower budget? And it seems to be a good play for them. They're huge. They have a lot of money. They can do that. We need to always remember that no matter what happens, all the revenue still comes from Google Ads. So yes, I'm sure bigger scale, bigger problems of steering the ship.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked a lot about YouTube, and we want to give you lots of time to talk about Twitch and Streamlabs.
Sure. Okay.
But before we move on, what do you think are the best and worst things about YouTube, and how would you change it?
I hate the YouTube interface. It sucks.
It really hasn't changed in a while.
It doesn't change because I think they have a huge team with highly paid engineers and designers who have a cushy job, And I think it's also hard, but realistically, I think it's hard to change interfaces when you have millions and billions of people used to it. But I personally hate it. It's like, it's overwhelming. It just throws shit at your face. And once you've messed up the algorithm, that rabbit hole is hard to come back from. Like if you had a bad night watching cat videos, God, you should just delete that user account, create a new account, delete that browser, maybe format your computer. I don't know. Yeah. So that's something I really hate. Like the user experience on YouTube, it's still like 1995. Something I really like about YouTube is that, this is something I realized would never think. Content never gets old on YouTube. Even like, so never think sometimes, it's feeding you videos which are like 6 years old. If you remove the timestamp and you personally have never seen that video, for you it's like today, right?
Oh, yeah.
and something, I think the longevity of content on YouTube, like I really think there's so much content and like, that makes it live that much longer, basically. And that means, like there's a very long tail to your ad revenue.
It's true.
Right? As long as your video, you can tweak the heading and then like the title and stuff and keep pushing it, basically.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's switch topics. We talked to YouTube a lot, like Lauren said. Let's talk about Twitch. Okay, so let's say I'm someone who, I have like a mobile phone, a smartphone. I've been on the computer. I've been on the internet. I don't know what Twitch is. What is Twitch?
Twitch is a video platform where people live stream their computer screens or from their camera, basically. They live stream and other people just watch it. And it has a chat widget on the side, so you can chat with the person who's live streaming. That's primarily all Twitch is in a very bare bones manner. And then they categorize your content based on whatever you're doing. So if you're playing a certain game, you tell them I'm playing a certain game, and they just put your video feed into that category. That's all Twitch does as a platform. Companies like Streamlabs actually jumped in because they opened up their APIs, and we built the ecosystem around it for engagement and monetization and helping people grow, basically. Yeah.
You mentioned it earlier, but briefly, but how did Twitch get started?
It was Justin TV and Justin, the guy himself,
Yeah.
and he was just streaming games. And there's a whole blog post about how he got to this idea and his inspiration. I can't state it with the same thunder, so I won't steal it away. You can Google like Justin TV, and he's got this whole story where it was basically a bunch of guys playing video games and wanting to stream on YouTube, I think, and they couldn't, and then they created Justin TV. Actually, Justin, even before games, he was obsessed with vlogging and his life and live streaming it. Basically. So he was doing vlogs for his life. He was like, my life should be vlogged, right? So he was wearing a camera all the time, and then he wanted to live stream it. So he had a website called Justin TV, and I think that's eventually it found a niche in gamers. And
I wonder if he was on that. I wonder if he was on the mailing list, like that
I won't
video
be
blog.
surprised if
Yeah.
he is, yeah.
To look. So I mean, we've talked about Twitch being like the go-to place for streaming games.
Games, yes.
Is there other content? What other?
So
content
games is the biggest content because Justin TV found home, like gamers found home at Justin TV, and they started doing that, and it became Twitch. So games is like 95% of Twitch content, but there's also other content. There's this category called just chatting, which is basically people doing podcasts like us, and they're streaming on Twitch. There's music, which is big. So there's a bunch of people who are producing their own music and they're live streaming it. There's couples playing guitars under that category, basically stuff like that. But also like Armin, when we were like basically doing his ASOT radio show as a live stream, right, at the same time while he's on radio. So that exists, and then there's just chatting. There's ASMR, this whole category. There's like thousands of streamers in there streaming different types of ASMR sessions. There's other ones do show up often, but like these are the three big categories, I would say, within Twitch.
One time I was looking around Twitch to see what there was, and I like to cook and bake.
Yeah.
And I found this group. There must have been like 1,000 people in it, and all they do is watch. Like they've put a loop of old Julia Child cooking shows on.
Yeah. So Bob Ross is famous.
Yeah.
Also.
And they just watch and talk about it.
Yeah.
It was really
So
funny.
cooking is a category. Art is the fourth. I would say art is a relatively smaller group of people, but it's still like fourth category is art, where people like produce art online. They're just doing all sorts of photoshopping or maybe even just acrylic painting and stuff, or crochet and all that stuff, and that's a community. Yes, that's the fourth community. And then there's Bob Ross, who's always running on an infinite loop doing his painting, and thousands of people watching him.
Yeah, who's watching him?
Bunch of people. Sometimes I've watched him do some of his paintings when he's doing it and he's explaining the process. Sometimes you just land on Twitch, he's their front page first video, and you're like, okay, let me just click, and you click, and you just get hooked, and you're like, for like 10 minutes, you're watching him do these techniques with his painters.
Maybe we should mention, like, when I was very young, I remember watching Bob Ross on TV, and I think it was usually there was some cartoon I was watching, and after the cartoon, I was like a kid. After the cartoon, there was Bob Ross, and he was this guy with this big fro who would do paintings and like try to teach you how to paint, and he had this certain style, like, oh, let's put this pretty little cloud in, like, it doesn't matter where it goes, we'll just do this. Like, he had like a particular style, and I don't know if he's alive still. Like, do you know? Or?
I don't think he is.
Yeah, but I mean, like everyone, I think, like me, that maybe saw him as a kid, like, he's quite familiar. Okay, sorry.
So with like the Bob Ross or the cooking show, those people are mostly just watching. Like, well, with cooking, you probably also enjoy cooking, but when you're watching a video game streamer, are those people do they also play that game, or are they just like really like
So,
watching it?
so before we go to that question about cooking, I just remember actually one of Vancouver's biggest streamers. She does cooking shows at 11 in the night. But yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. I
What's the person's
I'm
name?
forgetting her name.
You-
She's got a media company now. Like yeah, I'm just forgetting her name. I'll try to recall it.
Okay.
Background process. But yeah, about people playing games. So there's this thing called stream sniping.
Mm-hmm.
And stream sniping is all these top players, they're competing. And Fortnite is interesting as a game because it lets you. So right now we're having this Fortnite World Cup. It has millions of dollar, prize money, and like every round has like $1 million+. So it's pretty. There's a lot of money in that space, right? In that game right now, in that tournament. And a lot of these live streamers, they're trying to compete to qualify for the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Except they're also streaming at the same time, and they're sitting in their home and trying to qualify for a game's World Cup. Now, there's a bunch of people, what they do is they put them on, their stream on a separate computer, separate screen, and then they're playing. And now they exactly know where this guy is and what his situation is. This is called stream sniping, right? So they would basically figure out where the person is, where they're hiding, what they're building, what their exact health status, and all the other stuff is. And they would basically they would go and target them and kill them.
Yeah.
So that's stream sniping, but most people, they're just like sitting and watching. They're not and chatting or interacting with the chat, simply because some of these people are very good gamers. That's one fact we discount. That some of these gamers who are live streamers, they are like the top 1% or top 0.5% of their game, or of gamers. So like Shroud is this guy. Any game you give him, first-person shooter, he'll kill it, right? And he has like 150,000 viewers. He's also Canadian, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's based out of. Okay, I shouldn't say that. He's on the East Coast. He's on the East Coast. So that's one part, right? And yeah, so people are doing all sorts of stuff. People are also like trolling streamers, which is like the sad part of this whole industry, right? And you might have heard about swatting.
Yeah.
Right? So swatting, for people who don't know, is basically people figured out where a certain streamer lived, and they would call the police on this guy saying there's a guy trying to detonate a bomb at this address, and then the FBI or whatever would break into this person while he was live streaming, and then there are videos of this on YouTube, and people think it's funny, but someone actually died a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago, yeah. This guy, so.
Stream responsibly.
Not just stream responsibly, watch responsibly.
Watch responsibly.
Don't troll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you say are the important differences between Twitch and YouTube for? I'm going to ask you for two different groups: creators and streamers.
Sorry. No, so
what are the important differences between Twitch and YouTube?
Oh, okay. So for I would say for streamers, because like the thing with Twitch is you can do video on demand. Unless you're you can do it for there's no longevity to content. It dies down eventually, right? So it doesn't stay there, and you can't just go and watch a 6-year-old video on Twitch. So that's one thing. The general pattern is streamers stream to Twitch because that's where the audience is, that's where the money is, and then they take that video recording and they upload it to YouTube with edits so that people who want to catch up, they can catch up.
Yeah.
The main difference between the two platforms is that YouTube lets you live stream, but the whole UX around it is incredibly ugly.
Yeah, I can say that's the case because this is going onto YouTube using that interface.
Yeah.
It's not easy to use.
Yeah, and that's where like our Streamlabs OBS app, it made it so easy where you could say log in with YouTube, press stream, and you would be online and streaming, and you don't have to worry about the YouTube interface. But having said that, even for the viewer, it's very hard to discover new content. And on Twitch, it's easy because I go to twitch.tv, I see 5 game logos, I click on one game, and I see everybody streaming that game, right? And that is the one primary difference. It's very easy to get viewers, or it's relatively easier to get viewers on Twitch versus on YouTube because how would you find someone?
But don't you like on Twitch? I've used it. So I mean, like you go to a game or whatever that you like, and you get a list of people who are streaming on that right now, and it's ordered by the people who have the most viewers.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're like just starting off, like it's kind of tough to get viewers unless someone raids you, right? Like because like you're only gonna if you only see like the top 3 in the app, unless you scroll down, you're probably gonna watch like one of the top 3.
So there's some interesting things there. Twitch has recently started doing things like YouTube, where when a top stream or actually any streamer ends their stream, they show you a model saying you might like this guy. And generally, what I've noticed is those recommendations are smaller channels, right? Because they want more content creators. The other thing that Twitch doesn't specifically do, but other platforms like Mixer do, is they give you a row, or like on the homepage, a row of top streamers and top games, and then they give you a row of new content creators, right? So it just gives you this discoverability. And then there are times when, even on Twitch, you might not consistently get very high concurrent viewers, but what happens is you might end up on the homepage. Or maybe there's a new game out, like right now there's World of Warcraft Classic coming out, and some streamers who play World of Warcraft, they're generally not huge streamers, but they've had like 1,000 or 2,000 viewers. But because they were WoW specific streamers, suddenly with this classic coming out, people are like, chasing them and going to their stream to watch this new version because the game's not out yet and they have access to it, they have beta access. And that is your opportunity to, rise up the ranks basically. So, yeah. But it's still better than YouTube because at least you can be discovered or you have some hope of getting discovered.
Yeah.
And YouTube is like a wide place where all these boards and your live stream and everything is just all over the place, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that was kind of my next question is like, what's the difference for people watching? Like, it is hard to find
It's
stuff.
hard to find content on YouTube, except the search engine. Unless you know specifically what you're searching for, especially live streaming, it's not possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true, actually. So I got the new like Dyson crazy hair thing.
Yeah.
But before I did, I watched a lot of YouTube videos and I didn't know which ones to click on because there were like 1,000.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know which beauty reviewer I like or don't like.
Yeah.
And it's really hard.
So what happens is generally, just like YouTube or Twitch, you would find one channel which you would like and then you stick to it. So there are some really big streamers on YouTube as their primary platform.
Yeah.
And they have viewers in other parts of the world, North America. That's where YouTube has reached. Or they are mobile streamers. So a lot of people are playing mobile games and streaming, and YouTube sees a lot. YouTube is a home for those people, and their viewers know exactly the channel they need to go to. It's bookmarked. They even know the schedule. So there's like show up at a certain time. They watch this person. They give him money, super chat, whatever stuff, and they get out.
Yeah.
So that's.
Okay, so let's get a little more into this. So okay, you're someone that wants to start streaming on Twitch. What do you do? Grab OBS Studio, or you grab Streamlabs, right?
You can so Streamlabs has a bunch of stuff that we make, and one of the software that we make is a desktop software. It's called Streamlabs OBS.
Yeah.
OBS Studio used to be the original software that existed. It was an open source software maintained by 200 odd people.
It's still there, right?
It's still there.
Yeah.
It's but it was not beginner friendly.
Yeah.
And it lacked a lot of very basic features for streaming to these platforms. So what we did is we forked that software. We initially contributed to that software. Eventually, we realized our changes were too big. So, and especially when we were optimizing for performance. So we forked that software. We completely changed the front end of it. And, so before with OBS, what you had to do was you had to go to YouTube, copy a streaming key, or go to Twitch, copy a streaming key, go to OBS, enter that, and then, do a bunch of really complicated stuff, and then you would press go live, and then you would press go live on the platform, and then it would go live. And we killed all of that. We said, we're going to give you a nifty looking app. You click on login with Twitch, or YouTube, or Facebook, or Mixer, or Picarto, or any of these platforms, basically. There were a bunch more. We've killed a few integrations, but you would click with them. You click login, and it would just do all of that manual stuff for you. In the heart, we still use OBS, but it's a very small subset of the entire Streamlabs OBS project now, which is also open source. So it's a fork, it's open source, it's at parity. And you just download Streamlabs OBS, you log in with Twitch, you press go live, and you can go live right now. It's literally 60 seconds. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, so you're a creator on Twitch. You started a stream. what does it take to become successful on Twitch?
There are a few fundamentals, right? So first of all, your stream needs to look professional, right? So you can't just have like your camera and your whatever you're presenting just slapped on there, right? And it needs to have like nice borders around things and stuff like that, and like banners and some title and messaging and if you're walking away, there should be a be right back screen, and when you're coming back, there should be like like streaming or whatever status, and that's what Streamlabs OBS did for you. Within the same software, there's a full theme gallery, and there are like thousands of themes over there. And you can just like Microsoft Word, you can just click a theme, and it just applies to your entire scene, right? So you don't have to do any artwork, you don't have to hire a graphics designer. All of that art is already there. You just click it, you literally click install it. Click install it and it installs it for you. And now your camera has a nice border around it, or your entire scene has a certain effect to it, right? Or if people are chatting, you can just drag that and expand it, and you will see all the chat on the live stream, right? So getting this basic layout set up, it's really important. That's the first thing. That's the visual part of your stream. The second part is making sure the monetization pipes are built in, right? So if you're doing this and your objective is to make some money, if not a lot of money around this, you want to have your monetization channels set up, right? So Twitch has this thing called bits, right? But they don't let you accept bits or subscriptions until you reach a certain point in their trajectory as a streamer, right? So they have this thing called Twitch partner status, and below that comes Twitch affiliate, and below that comes people like me who are noobs. Well, I'm an affiliate and partner now, but yeah, so to progress up that scale, you have to meet certain requirements, and you cannot monetize until you become affiliate or partner. Right, but with Streamlabs, what happens is we give you a donation page, and you can get a donation URL from us. You can place it on your Twitch panel. So Twitch has these things called panels at the bottom. You can place it there, and you can say, "Hey, support my stream," or if you want to support me, you can, So when people go there, they can support you by buying your T-shirt or mugs or whatever merchandise, or sending you money. Now, the interesting thing that happens is that they send you money, and if you're streaming and if you're using our alert system, either through Streamlabs OBS or any other software, we support all softwares, people can see their name show up on your stream, basically with the amount you donated and your message as well. And we've added stuff like text to speech, so you can set like text to speech settings, and that's where it all becomes fun, and some trolling happens there as well. But yeah. So, like getting the monetization pipe, having a professional stream is very important. The third most important thing is having a consistent schedule. So, showing up at the same time so people know, if people start liking you, they know. The third thing is, for a new streamer, you should try to share what you're building towards. I've seen recently someone was streaming and she was talking about, I'm saving for my MBA. She literally had an MBA donation ticker. And it would just be like, my MBA savings need to be $50,000. And she was a pol sci graduate, and she used to talk about political sciences all day on stream on Twitch of all places. And her objective was to meet that $50,000 mark, basically, just based on donations. I think the last I saw, she was on like 25, 30,000 in a few months. And she was a smart girl who was talking about like smart stuff. Didn't have like thousands of people watching because, of course, political science is not as fun as Fortnite. So, but some people did find interest, and they used to engage in discussions, and there were some other streamers. So, having that really helps. Some people try to replicate what the large streamers do by playing like a certain game. You're gonna get lost in that wall of other large streamers, right?
Yeah.
You need to build or find your own initial traction. It's just like doing anything else in life, to be honest.
Yeah, cool. So what kind of equipment and software do you think a Twitch creator should have to stream onto Twitch?
The thing, it really depends on how much you're willing to spend. Because as I said, the sky's your limit. You can spend like $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 on this stuff. And there are people who have such complicated setups. And then you can still be streaming using your phone with a battery pack and a good internet connection. So it really depends on your content and what you produce. There are a lot of IRL streamers, so
In real life.
In real life, streamers, yeah. And all they do is they wear these backpacks which have big batteries, and some of them have computers in them too, and they have a camera mounted or they have their phone mounted, and they just like walk around and they're like literally doing IRL streams, and that's all the equipment that they have. And there are streamers with dual PC setup. There are streamers like this kid. He was raising money for his second PC because he's 13 years old and he wants to stream professionally. And we were like, "Why aren't you at school?" Yeah, one day, like his stream just showed up, and all of us like we posted on our team channel, and we were just like, "Why isn't he at school?" Is the big question. Like, okay, he's nice. He was like a young ninja, like very ambitious, very good at the game, very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
But and he was raising money for a second PC. So I'm assuming he was using just one PC and streaming from that one PC. So it really spends. We've seen all sorts of people. Some people spend a lot of money upfront. Some people gradually, spend money.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something, a Twitch partner.
Mm-hmm.
What's a Twitch partner? Go into that.
So a Twitch partner is someone who has a tick mark beside their name, just like a verified Twitter account, and you become a Twitch partner by meeting certain goals. That includes having certain number of concurrent viewers consistently, streaming for X number of hours, having X number of followers, and that's how you become a Twitch partner. Basically, it used to be very exclusive, and now it's not anymore. Like the last Twitch partner party was so packed that some of the very large streamers, I met them in the hotel lobby and they were like, "Yeah, I couldn't even get in." So
Wow.
yeah.
Can you tell us more about TwitchCon? Like, what is it?
TwitchCon is a conference for people who are, around Twitch, I would say.
Yeah.
A lot of game developers come there. A lot of sponsors who have products targeted towards people in this space come there. Like G Fuel is an energy drink and supplement, right? And G Fuel is big in this space, and they're like, we're like supplement for gamers kind of stuff because it's esports, sure, and it has its own health risks. Yes, so those guys were there, and there were a bunch of Gap was there this year actually.
Gap?
Yeah,
The clothing brand?
Sorry, not Gap. Sorry, Guess.
Oh,
Guess, the
okay.
fashion brand, right? So they were there because a lot of these streamers have become celebrities and they sell merchandise, but they want premium or like custom design, like designer wear as their merchandise. So they were there with a big booth. The Streamlabs was there. So it's basically it's a 4-day event where people related to Twitch come together. A lot of viewers just show up because there's a meet and greet and you can meet your favorite celebrities, right? So all these Twitch partners are there, or all these big streamers are there. There are all these side, parties in the evening where, after parties and parties where, so we have those where you get to, like Streamlabs hosts one, and it's like all these top streamers are there, and it generally is the Streamlabs team and the top streamers, but even within the top streamers, like some of them have never met. They've collaborated online, but they've never met, or
IRL.
IRL, yes, or they've never. They don't know about each other sometimes, right? So they get to meet each other and stuff. So we host that. There are a bunch of other crazy parties, it's interesting in many ways. There's a lot of cosplay. So there's there's cosplay. There's competitive gaming tournaments as well.
Yeah.
So like last year, Fortnite held a huge TwitchCon tournament. They had their own tent outside TwitchCon actually, like their own thing.
Yeah.
And so there's like cosplay competitions, gaming tournaments, stuff like that. Yeah.
Can anyone attend TwitchCon?
There's a ticket.
Yeah.
You can just buy it and you can attend, basically. Yeah. And as long as you know enough people, you can get invites to all these parties.
Yeah.
You can't crash the gates, but you can you can get in for sure.
Cool. So let's go back to Twitch. How does a Twitch streamer make money on Twitch?
So starting off, they can make money using the Streamlabs donations whole thing, and we're used by about 70 to 80% of Twitch streamers right now.
Yeah.
So whenever you go to a Twitch streamer, you look at their donation link, it's us. You make money by selling merchandise, which is also mostly through us or a competitor of ours. You make money through natively on the platform through this thing called subscriptions, where people actually subscribe to you and they pay you like $5 per month, but you don't get that entire money. Like you don't get the full $5. You get a portion of it because Twitch keeps the rest. So those are some very obvious, like straightforward ways, and then there are like sponsored streams, like when a new game's coming out, right? So EA might just sponsor 500, not 500, five large streamers, and they would basically just keep playing the same game for a week, and the game's not out yet, and it's in beta, and it's exclusive, and people are like, I want to see what the new game is like, so that happens. There's a lot of so Twitch has introduced advertisement now. So streamers are getting money from apps that play before or during their stream. What else? There's some streamers are sponsored by certain companies. So you always keep like a certain logo on your stream just displayed, or you just put a product behind you, like an Adidas shoe or something, just there, and you don't talk about it, but it's there, and people are watching it. Like Red Bull is always there behind all the big streamers. Gatorade or Monster is always there, right? So Chipotle gives free Chipotle cards to all streamers, or at least the large ones. So they get free Chipotle for life.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So that's a big thing in this community, right? So they get like free Chipotle for life, and that's also like a sponsorship way of making money. So yeah, streamers make money through sponsorships, ads, donations, merchandise sales, basically affiliate links to hardware and software too as well.
Okay, I was going to ask about Bits, but you've already answered that. So
Bits is Twitch's native currency, but yeah, that's still like small.
Yeah.
In our mix, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I asked this about YouTube, but what are the best and worst things about Twitch, and what would you change?
Twitch, what I like is, as I said, the UX. I think it's really stupidly simple, but they really nailed it, because this is the consumer behavior part people don't understand. Is basically you can watch the same content, but you can have a different producer. So you can watch Fortnite, and if you go offline, people can watch me, but they're staying within Fortnite.
Yeah, you playing Fortnite.
Yeah, me playing Fortnite, right? So we both of us were playing Fortnite. They were watching Lauren, and now she dropped off, or you disconnected, or you stopped your stream, and I still want to watch Fortnite. I can easily switch to the next person playing Fortnite because of the interface and the way it's laid out and the small hooks they put through links in the page, right? That's a very nice UI.
So it's the idea that people want to watch this content regardless of who's making it. Like
who's the creator or the producer? Yes.
Yeah, so it might be like I want to watch people play Fortnite, or it could be like I'm interested in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
I want to watch this person making Dragon Ball Z videos. I want to watch this other person. I want to watch this other person, and I can keep on doing that.
Yeah. And you can, you're interested in poker, so you can watch one person play, and then you can watch the other person play, and then the third person play, and you can watch 24/7, and there will be someone playing.
Yeah.
So that's the good part. The bad part about Twitch, there are many things, but I would say the one that I can say is gaming in general is very, it gets toxic eventually, right? So sometimes you see that side, and yes, they're doing a lot of changes. They keep banning people and stuff, but and Twitch is gaming, right? So that kind of starts reflecting in the communities and the chats and stuff like that. It's worse on YouTube, I would say. YouTube, like any kind of video comments you start reading, you're like you want to jump off the building after that, even if you've not produced that content. So I don't know how the content producers deal with that, but. Twitch can get brutal sometimes. There are other things that come with, being a large company like Amazon, but
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess so let's actually no. I guess I'll do it. What do you think other people think about Twitch that might be different from your experience or your opinion?
One, people underestimate the size of this economy. just Streamlabs has processed like $400 million in tips and donations.
Mhm.
That's people giving other people money to play games online, right?
Yeah.
One, people don't understand the scale at which this is happening, and it's very hard to explain to my mother as well as to why this is happening. And I think the second thing that people don't, or I think it's just slowly settling in with people is the fact that um, the next generation will want to do more and more of such stuff than conventional sports or conventional stuff. The third last thing I think which people constantly mistake is they always take categories like ASMR or female streamer streaming to be only people watching because of the sexual aspect to it, or because they think, oh, it's because it's a nude, it's not a nude, it's a nude kind of a thing. But I personally think that is true to some extent, but those numbers are not realistic. So the number of people doing it because of that reason, it doesn't match the real numbers. Like the real numbers are way too big for everybody just to be watching that. Like if people wanted to do that, they could just go to chatterbait.com.
Yeah.
Fair. Anything else you think people should know about Twitch?
About Twitch specifically?
Yeah.
It's if you're learning to play a game, I think it's a great place to go watch some of the large streamers and see what they do, and you'll just cut the curve, like basically. So you watch the pros, you learn a few skills, you practice that. I've also found some people streaming other stuff on Twitch. People who produce music, and sometimes you find really nice music on Twitch, or people who are coding on Twitch. And that's So it's up to, I have a friend. He's watching people do flight simulator. He's in flight school, or he's now a pilot, but he wants to. There aren't as many pilots in Vancouver, so he's like, I want to learn. I want to join a community. So there's someone who plays the flight simulator in real time, some real-time flight simulator game on Twitch, and this guy's found like 20 other people there, and they're all like chat with the pilot and the 20 people watching, and he's like super happy. So you'll find something like that. Yeah.
Talked about YouTube and Twitch. What other video platforms are you kind of paying attention to? You mentioned Quibi, a new kind of one.
Quibi is like something which just because of the $1 billion seed funding, it kind of got. I was like, wow, that's $1
billion is a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for seed.
That's insane.
That's the context. Right?
That's insane.
Yeah. So otherwise, like the standard ones are like TikTok. There are features of video which are more important than the platforms, and the features are stories. Like everybody's doing stories now, short form video, vertical video versus horizontal video. That is where right now I think everybody's trying to figure it out. And there are like multiple platforms. There's like tons of platforms in China. There's tons of platforms in around Southeast Asia. There's QVC.com selling stuff, right? So there's a lot happening. Nobody and us as Streamlabs, a lot of those.
Yeah. What would you try out as a new creator?
Me personally?
Yeah.
That's a hard question. So something that I've been looking for, and I know that some came and failed or due to XYZ reason, is so I go to Orange Theory. Sorry, not an ad, right? For fitness classes, and it seems like that whole experience can be very easily live streamed because our Apple Watches have the exact same or even better sensors than what we give you for $60 at Orange TV. And I don't need to be in class. I don't need that much equipment because there's this whole movement within fitness right now. And as a creator, I would want to test that market by streaming on Twitch or something and see if I get enough people following me and then eventually build my own platform.
Yeah, I see that happening. I actually was just listening to the podcast The Pitch, and they were talking about one for boxing.
Yeah, because you see, like Peloton has opened up that market. Like if people are buying like $1,500 freaking cycles, then we've got a game here.
Absolutely. We talked a little bit about TwitchCon. Charles, should we talk about Streamlabs now?
Yeah. So let's do that. Okay. So let's talk about the company you're involved with. So you're director of product there at Streamlabs. Tell us about Streamlabs, the company, the software, and the services it offers.
So Streamlabs has an interesting story. This company came into being. They're two founders, Ali and Murthy. They have been doing startups since they were 14. They're dropouts, of course. They've been doing startups. They built a Facebook before Facebook, like Friendster, and they were in a different market back then.
Did you say Friendster?
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah, they made that?
No, these guys were.
Oh, okay.
These guys were at the same time competing with Friendster and MySpace, basically.
Okay.
But they were in a different market.
Okay.
So it grew big, and they built a bunch of other stuff around social networks. Eventually, Facebook blew up in North America, but they were not operating in North America. So they moved to North America, and eventually what happened is they built a company, they sold it around ads and around surveys and monetization of that whole space. After that, they've done a bunch of startups. They built and sold. So in I think during their life, they've done 50 to 60 startups. And Streamlabs is the latest one.
That beats my 11.
Yeah, there's this whole blog post. So when you join Streamlabs, you actually have to read a 4-part blog post, which has been published over the years. So it's like literally it's dated to when it was published and what the state of the founders and the company and the thought process was, and they talk about each experiment they undertook in that during that specific year.
Cool.
So Streamlabs was the last, not the last, but the latest experiment, it kind of like it worked out. And when I say worked out, I mean like the last few experiments were more like, okay, we've hit 10 million users. This thing's not going to become a billion user thing. Let's just shut it down. Right? So it made money, but we shut it down, kind of thing. The founders they've been in this space. They owned an esports team back in the day, so they knew the space very well. They felt live streaming was something they could connect to, and that's where Streamlabs was born. And that's the very core of what Streamlabs is. We're very we're scrappy. We're backed by Sequoia. Definitely, we're very well funded. We have very good investors. The founders are serial entrepreneurs, so they know what they're doing most of the time. The CTO has been with the founders for the longest time through those 50 or 60 startups. So he is very pragmatic. We don't do fancy Kubernetes. We serve like 900 million pages a day, sometimes a billion plus a day. We've been top 600 Alexa rankings website several times globally. In the UK, we're always in the top 200, and our engineering is pretty straightforward. It's very product focused, and we don't do fancy Kubernetes and fancy random stuff. A lot of people like to talk about. We don't optimize for engineering careers and resumes. we optimize for product basically.
Yeah.
So that's Streamlabs at its core, and our products are we help you monetize, engage, and grow your stream. So, from getting set up using a software which is called Streamlabs OBS, which is what you use to broadcast to all these platforms. Now, the story of Streamlabs OBS is we found the software and we said, it's not good. We don't like this UX of the software. We took it in-house. We built a team around it. It's a C++ software, so it's really complicated stuff. It's very low level. We work very closely with NVIDIA. We have access to exclusive APIs as well sometimes, and we optimize for those things, right? And we optimize for like very low level GPU, compute and stuff. So basically, we picked that up, and OBS has been in the market for a long time, but we went from 0 to 50% market share in about 12 months, basically.
Wow.
So there's a certain level of grit, and there's a certain level of hunger and speed at which we operate. So the average industry MVP timeline to go from concept to MVP is about 8 months to 7 months. We do it in about 4 months roughly.
Wow.
So that speaks a lot about a bunch of stuff. So we've always had a core business which is all this monetization and growth, and the tipping platform and $400 million that we processed, and the alerts showing up on people's
things, and but we've always been experimenting with other things. Swabs, Streamlabs OBS was one of those things. Face masks are our latest or previous latest. There's one more coming in, media embargo, can't talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so our last product which came out, that was one of our experiments. We keep doing moonshots basically, and this was, we had no machine learning expertise on the team as such, and we built face detection and basically a Snapchat for live streaming, where people could pay money to put 3D masks on your face during a live stream, and we built that entire thing in-house without hiring like additional experts or outside resources. So it worked out. It's working fine. It's interesting how at Snapchat, the day we were at TwitchCon, they announced they're going to launch something, and we were like 2 months from launching, and they launched. Except they didn't understand this space, right? And we've been in this space for like 2-3 years now. We really understood, and plus slogs, understand like building slogs, we understood what goes on in a user's computer. Imagine there are gamers using Windows 7 today, and we have to support it, right? So we kind of knew what to optimize for. And Snapchat just threw in this one software, and they were like, "Oh, we have the best algorithm in the world. We're gonna throw it out and see," because they heard that we were doing it. And sure, they did it, and they it didn't work out, and they just like went back to whatever they're doing. But yeah, we launched it, and we've seen consistent growth on it, and like people see like 35% monetization growth just by installing a Snapchat face mask. Yeah, so you get 35% more money just by doing that. Our next product that we're launching soon, can talk about, based on this. So we are very scientific. We do a lot of testing, a lot of A/B testing, to an extent where we build our own mix panel in-house. So we cannot use Mixpanel or XYZ analytics platform because our users use ad blockers, and ad blockers block those things. So we built our own internal analytics infrastructure. We do our own click tracking, everything, our own reporting around it. And so we do a lot of A/B testing, and our next product, it will bump up your stream revenue by about 20 to 25%.
Cool. Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
So let me ask you another question. Who uses Streamlabs?
Who uses Streamlabs?
Yep.
We've now slapped it on our website. It's 70% of Twitch uses Streamlabs.
Okay.
It's like 15 million people, 15 million plus actually right now.
Yeah. I was reading that.
And it's across multiple platforms.
Yeah, I was reading that blog post. It was really good, like breakdown of the landscape. So I think my next question was, how does it fit into the landscape? But I think we've covered that. You mentioned a media embargo, but what's in store for the future of Streamlabs? Like, what's the big grand vision?
We have the biggest market share in what we do right now. We're platform agnostic. That is our biggest strength, and that is what gives strength to streamers or content creators, right? Because they don't have to. The thing is, like, once you become a Twitch partner, you cannot stream on any other platform by contract. And that means you will never be able to tap into the YouTube audience. Stuff like that. Not just that, but it's really hard for streamers and content creators to worry about a bunch of stuff. Just like, how do you set up a merch store? And we've done that for you. It's just easy. You click, you literally upload your logo and drag it around on a t-shirt, and you say, I want it here in this size, and we start shipping shirts, and you set a price, and that's it. And we start shipping shirts for you globally, or mugs, or caps, or whatever, stickers, right? So whatever you want to set up. It just seems like there are better ways to monetize, and we want to do that. There are better ways to engage with the community. We want to work on that. There's a whole world that lives on Reddit, right? And there's a lot of engagement that happens there. The one thing that we don't want to live on is ads, basically, right? And we want to make it easy for streamers to go from zero to ninja, basically. That's like the trajectory. And we're just like, we're doing some incremental improvements, and then we do have some moonshots. And we always have moonshots. We have like 3 to 5 moonshots at the same time. And that's
very exciting.
Yeah.
What do you think everyone should know about Streamlabs?
We are based out of Vancouver. We love Vancouver.
Are you hiring, maybe?
We are hiring.
Yeah.
It's just hard to interview with us. we
Okay.
have a very different take on a lot of things,
Yeah.
especially hiring. Our hiring is done not by HR, but by product managers, founders, and the CTO himself.
Interesting.
So
That's
it's
so
not-
important. to
It's
find the right
not
people.
like someone from HR.
I'm actually completely against HR like as a thing.
Yeah,
Like in that, like you have these people that have absolutely no expertise,
yeah,
like in this thing, trying to hire from because they do it a certain way, right? It's
Yes.
often like,
yes.
oh, what fancy titles have you had? Oh,
Yeah.
what famous companies you worked for? It's
Yeah.
like
or what
you
frameworks have you used?
yeah, like usually, okay, so there are some very skilled people at large companies, but they're an
Yeah.
extreme minority,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
most people at big companies are at best average, if not below average, right?
Yeah.
And then like you get an HR person and they're very impressed that this person worked at a big company. It's like,
Yeah.
like, no, don't do that, right?
Yeah.
Anyways,
And
it's
yeah. So we don't do very conventional HR, and that's where it becomes. Our process is pretty straightforward. It's just a technical test. It's a take-home 4-hour commitment, and after that, it's just an interview with the founders and some members of the team, which is like 1 hour each.
Mhm.
So it's a total 6-hour process. We run you through it in one day if you can handle it, and we don't do any fancy whiteboarding, nothing. We even our take-home is not like build a random Redis proxy server or some like really complicated distributed system NFS thing or something. It's simply whatever we use external APIs a lot, and we just give you a mashup of that as a product, as a project, and for a backend engineering role. But it gets interesting because even our non-technical roles have to do a take-home.
Yeah.
So even if you're doing for an interview for like a technical recruiter, you actually have to evaluate someone's submission and give us your take on it. But we've not had great success. So yeah. So basically, yeah. So we are hiring. We are hiring for Android, iOS right now. We're hiring globally. So
Cool.
most of our team
Hear that,
is
people?
most of our team is actually they've come from. So our team's pretty. Yeah, we haven't put up a team page yet. It's under construction. You might have seen our new website landing page. It's already out there now. Parts of it are hidden because media is vulnerable, but. Our team is from, I'll start counting the countries. The founders are originally from Pakistan. They've lived in the Bay Area since they were 12, so 20, 30 years now. But our team's from like Pakistan, India, Venezuela, Cuba, Brazil, Russia, Ukraine, Great Britain, Canada, of course. Some are from China, Philippines, and it gets very interesting because you know what? There aren't 7 continents in the world, is what I would say.
Yeah,
You know that?
there are 7.
There aren't 7 continents in the world.
How many are there?
Because people in Russia are taught differently and people in South America are taught completely different geography. Really? Yeah, for them America is one America. There's no north and south.
interesting.
There's a whole Wikipedia page on this stuff, and we didn't know till we like all went out for like a random company event, and we were like, like randomly chatting, and someone figured this out.
Who are the geography councils that are messing this
No.
up?
In Russia, they teach you like Eurasia is a thing, so Europe and Asia is one thing.
Yeah, that's
And I think the Brazilians or Venezuelans don't count Antarctica as anything because they're like, no humans live there. Why is it a proper continent?
is India its own continent?
No, I don't know. No, I don't think so. But yeah, there's this whole. So yeah, Streamlabs is it's funny. It's different from Vancouver. That's why I'm generally hesitant saying, hey, we're hiring and stuff.
Yeah.
We kind of live like Silicon Valley to some extent. So we hustle a lot.
Yeah.
We're built by very proudly. We're built by immigrants and generally very hardworking people. So just yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, cool. So let's change the subject a bit. We're going to get into the tech and startup scenes in different places in the world. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of frame this first question. Okay. So I love Vancouver. This is my home. This is where I grew up, right? But I've traveled a bit, right? Like I've been to San Francisco Bay Area. I've been to New York. Vancouver is tiny compared to them. Vancouver's tiny compared to Toronto, right? Nevertheless, Vancouver is an important tech city for Vancouver. Tell us about the tech and startup scene in Vancouver.
So when I moved to Vancouver 3-4 years ago, I had a simple hypothesis, and that was Vancouver has a certain, despite the lack of, the low count of engineering schools in Vancouver versus Toronto or other tech hubs. We just have like few here, right? But the quality of engineering is generally very high. It's very well regarded in Vancouver. Not just that, but the exits that Vancouver startups have seen, if you start counting, they're actually pretty high as compared to the rest of Canada. It's mostly B2B startups. They were mid-sized. They weren't like unicorn exits, but there's been a lot of exits in Vancouver. And thirdly, Vancouver is small. It's almost a town. So like the downtown is like smaller than it's just small. So Vancouver is more global in many ways. That the businesses are targeting globally. They're not targeting the Canadian market only, and that's where I think it becomes really attractive. And because of its vicinity to the valley and the Bay Area in general, it's just I had a hypothesis 4 years ago before moving here, and that was once the Bay Area and the valley it reaches a certain saturation point, there will be a spillover, and that spillover will not go across the continent. They will actually go up north or down south. Now down south was hard, so up north was easy, and Vancouver was Seattle, of course, was the one state, and then Portland was there. But then when you move further up, and there was Vancouver. So I felt like there was this whole 15-year trajectory to that spillover. And I kind of started seeing it because Facebook was actually once here in Vancouver, they left, and Twitter was once here, but Amazon's still here, they're expanding, and Microsoft's happening.
Facebook's coming back, I think.
Facebook's coming back since a year or so. They've been doing that. So Vancouver seemed to be better poised to become tech hub. Plus, it's West Coast, and the people are way more hipster. They're more into tech and organic and the whole living on the edge, on the frontier of things culture versus the East Coast. So the Vancouver tech scene is very similar to the California tech scene, except a few things, which is of course scale. The second thing I think it still has a lot of Canada built into it, and generally Canadian businesses are discoverers, right? And they dream big, but they dream big B2B, not B2C, right? So and you see that in the startups that are coming out of the city. But it's growing. There's a lot of money flowing in as well now. So I think there's a lot of promise, and the next 10 years are going to be pretty good.
I hope so. I don't really want to leave it.
I love this city personally, to be honest. It's the best of both worlds, to be honest. You get nice Canadian home and nice city, clean city, amazing transit system. I haven't had a car for 4 years now. I haven't needed one. This is the only city I can live in without a car, I feel like. And maybe London is another one, but yeah.
You should check out some other places. Like I do like the transit system here, but if you go, for example, to Seoul in Korea, their transit system is so much better than it is here.
Really?
Oh yeah, like way better. It's got more coverage. It's faster. I mean, I think there's one trip you make to a neighboring city that's the equivalent of I think going to Chilliwack from downtown Vancouver, right? And it happens really damn quick. Yeah, so I mean I think transit could be improved here. The one thing I think there's a problem right now with Vancouver is the housing.
Yeah. So yeah, I think but I think that problem exists with every major city. I think the bigger problem is that the pay scales don't go up as high as the housing, and I think that is the bigger problem.
Yeah, I mean it's both a plus and a minus, right?
Yeah.
If you look at just the tech cities in North America, and Vancouver being one of them, I think Vancouver, the skill level here is very, very high.
Yeah.
But it has the lowest salaries in North America.
Which is wrong.
yeah, and it's good if you're trying to hire, right? If you're trying to hire, you come to Vancouver, you get a harsh deal.
Is it good?
Well, hang on, let me finish.
Yeah.
So it's good if you're trying to hire and that you get a harsh deal. But if you're local, right, it kind of sucks, right?
Yeah.
And I know people who are younger than me who have left Vancouver and gone to the States just because they want to get paid more, right? Just because they see how much the housing costs here, right? And for example, I've been in the tech scene for a while. I do pretty well. I do not think housing is affordable here at all.
No.
Right?
Yeah. So something that we try to solve for this at Streamlabs, and I think a lot of startups are now from the Bay Area. They're coming to Vancouver. Like Asana is coming here. Street CRM is already open office. Segment's already here. There's a bunch of others coming. I know of them, and we aren't paying San Francisco salaries because that's not fair. The cost of living is not that high. But we are also trying to not pay the
Vancouver salaries.
Vancouver salary is set by local players, and this is an unpopular opinion, but we have a nice bubble of, certain associations, and where
You talk about the HR one?
where HR professionals actually disclose, partially disclose salary information, and then they make a bubble, and then they basically set salaries for.
Yeah,
employees.
I'm aware of that one.
So I personally, unpopular opinion, but yeah, Laura's like, oh, okay. No, but anyways, so I think there are two functions to the salary part, right? One is that, and the other reason why the salaries are not going up, I think, is because you can pay higher salaries when your business is taking more risks and growing, right? But if you're not taking risks and you're being stagnant, or you're just trying to not grow faster or to grow beyond a certain size, that's when you cannot afford to pay higher salaries. And I think that's a mindset change, that's a culture change, and that happens when you have more and more influx of capital to take risk with, right? So one is, of course, your bit about that bubble, which we should talk about. And then the other part is about, of course, being more capital being available for risk taking, leading to more people doing things, getting exits, and then being able to pay higher salaries.
Yeah, I mean I know that raising money in Vancouver is tough. One thought I remember someone saying, so this isn't my original noticing, is that if you go to the States, if you go to the San Francisco Bay Areas, if you go to Seattle, because software developers make so much more, they can be seed investors, right? So they can throw $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 at you and invest in your companies. You don't just need the people who had large exits, right? Where if you're in Vancouver, software developers don't make enough to do that usually. And you basically need to get the people with had large exits. And a lot of these people, for example, were in real estate, and it's the same people, and everyone's going after them. Right?
So I think again, that thing is also, it's not just that there's not enough capital. I also think people in the Bay Area were like, oh, Uber's IPOing and all of these employees are going to become investors, and there's going to be so much employee money. That means SF cost of living is going to go up because people will be able to afford more, they'll buy more, demand goes up, right? That happens because people, in the form of stock options or equity or whatever, I feel like there's more sharing and there's more ownership then in return. And I sense that missing with Vancouver startups. I felt like founders or management teams or XYZ want to keep more of that share or that promise of that upside basically. And we've seen exits in Vancouver, but we've never seen employees become investors or right? And that is a common trend now. Like VCs are not even doing seed rounds anymore in the Bay Area. VCs are like A16Z, they've moved out of the whole seed funding business, and they are like, we are investment advisors to that business, and their founders or their ex-founders have now become seed round investors, right? And they've moved on to the higher series basically, where there's a more complicated dynamic involved around money and operations and growth. So you don't see that shift, but I think that's also because it's a newer ecosystem and it will change with time. Hopefully with some exits.
We did have one large exit a while ago, Plenty of Fish, right? They got purchased by Match. And I think Marcus, the founder of that, I don't think anyone else had equity in it. I think he owns pretty much all of it. And I think he had about $500 million before, and with the sale he sold it for about $500 million. So now he's a billionaire. And I'm aware that he's investing, but I think because other people in the company didn't have equity also, you don't have all those other people investing now.
And that's where ideas can get backing, right? Because only so many people have access to X person versus having X into 3 people and then people being able to access multiple people, capital, enough capital to get started.
Yeah. I think like just to touch on the housing thing a bit more, because it's a thing I've been thinking about lately. Like I know I'm aware of like two pressures kind of like causing the situation, right? One of them is that Vancouver is being used as a bank account, right? So people who don't want to put their money in the bank for whatever reason, maybe the place they live in, they don't like the politics around there, or who are control the government, and they want to get their money out of there, right?
Yeah.
And they put in Vancouver. Now, some people are calling this money laundering, and to some degree it is, but some people it's like they're trying to escape like a political situation they don't want to be in, right? And the other thing that so this is like pushing up demand, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is that there are zoning restrictions, right? Like usually when you have this much demand, supply increases, right? So like why doesn't like Vancouver look like Manhattan? Why aren't there like these beautiful high rises going up all over, right? And part of it's like the city government is not allowing it, or the people in charge of the city government right now are not allowing it, right? I mean, the problem could be fixed, right? Just like for example, like take Robson, take Granville, take like whatever street in downtown Vancouver, like 30-story like high rise, make it look like Manhattan. Like I think Manhattan's a fantastic place. Make it look like Manhattan. Prices would go down, rent would go down, the cost of housing would go down. But it's not happening because the city's like stopping it, right? Okay.
I think like all these cities that government is slow.
Yeah. So we're gonna ask you like a whole bunch of other questions, but maybe it's getting kind of late, so we'll kind of like skip over that, and let's jump to the community questions. So we did have some people kind of ask questions from the community. So I'll start off, and so the first question's from a friend of mine who I can't really pronounce his last name because I don't know how to say it. Anthony C.
I think it's
Tsui. So he's asked a question. He's from the Bantech community. His question is this: what is the trajectory of coders streaming online instead of gaming? Is that getting bigger? So this is people instead of playing a game and streaming it on Twitch, YouTube, the programming.
So there have been like liveprogramming.tv or .com and a bunch of these sites. They've just not found. So programmers have found homes on these sites, and I've seen people stream on Twitch as well sometimes when they're coding. In fact, the biggest Spark contributor, Holden, they stream to. They also happen to be Canadian, by the way. Waterloo grad, now works at Google, built Spark and Apache Spark. I mean, the open source project for machine learning, big data engineers. Because it's an open source project, most of their stuff is through Twitch they stream their work on Twitch, but it's there seems to be a lack of engagement, right? And they don't get a lot of viewers or any monetization. Or
it's probably because like people who program, especially like when you get really experienced at it, it's all in your head. Right. You like I remember, for example, I've seen some people who I've worked with interview, and they'll ask the person to talk things out. And when they said that, I was thinking to myself, like, I don't actually like talk it out in my head. Like the solution's obvious, right? It's just instant. Like all I'm doing is like executing on like whatever, like a thing that was instantly in my head. And if that's the case, like you get these software engineers, like as you get good at it, it's like it becomes like you don't even think. It's like you don't think to walk. Right, you just walk, and you don't like really like. I mean, I've been programming for like 25 years. I don't think how to program. I just do it, right? And there's nothing really to say, right? And that makes for something that's not very entertaining.
But you know what's entertaining? When GitLab went down as a company and their entire infrastructure went down, their engineers somehow thought it was entertaining to live stream as they brought the entire company back up.
Okay, that's interesting.
But that was like a one-time event, and never happened again.
That would be really cool.
Is a permanent recording that available anywhere?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. You just search for like GitLab, I don't know, infrastructure failure or something, and then live stream, and you'll find it. Like them, they're basically their consoles.
Cool.
Anthony
also asked, you mentioned one, but who are the best code streamers to watch?
I only know of Holden, also because I was in the big data community and involved there, and know Holden personally, but I've seen a bunch of people do bots, and most of them are JavaScript coders or our hipster coders, as you call them. Right? They're doing that stuff. But no, I haven't come across someone I want to watch for hours doing something personally.
Yeah. You know when I know that when I watch stuff on YouTube, like for example, when I was trying to figure out how to do audio, how to do video, I watched a lot of people doing this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I watched it because I didn't understand it, right? I was trying to learn. And so it was a learning experience for me.
Yeah.
Coding, like I've been doing this for a long time. I've seen people code. I'm not really interested in watching people code.
Yeah.
I think it's because like to me, it doesn't feel like I'm going to learn anything.
It doesn't feel like work, but okay.
Yeah, well, it's also that because I've done it for so long, I don't feel I'm learning anything, right? And maybe that's it. Okay, so here's another question. So we when we get these questions, there's a place in the forum where it allows them to fill in their name and allows them to say like, do you want us to like credit you with this question? This person said they wanted us to credit them with a question, so say their name, but they didn't put in their name.
Wow.
So I don't know who this is from. It's just anonymous. But the question is this: can you explain how the infrastructure works at Streamlabs? How does Streamlabs scale up and down as load increases and decreases?
So I can talk about some parts. Some parts I can because of security. I can tell you about 18 or so months ago, 19 months ago, Streamlabs was hit with the third largest DDoS on the internet ever. It was 1 point something terabyte sent to us, and we were down for a day or so, and then we are now back and hardened to fight that. So yeah, if you search for like Streamlabs biggest ever internet DDoS, and you would find like the third or the fourth largest was Streamlabs. And our stack is mostly PHP, Laravel. Yes, not the most shiny thing, but it works for us.
PHP was like built the internet originally. Like,
yes.
Like I remember, like Vancouver was a PHP city for a very, very long time. Like Google was originally built on PHP. What's called Facebook's, I think, still built on PHP.
Yeah.
PHP, it got very fashionable to talk bad about it. I don't think it's deserved. Like I really don't think it's deserved. I think there were like 1, 2, maybe 3 people who wrote articles. I think one person did it first, and they complained about PHP. A friend of mine sent it to me. He can do a bit of programming, but he's not really a programmer. And he asked me what I thought. I said, okay, they're complaining about these third-party libraries people wrote. And then someone else wrote an article, someone else wrote an article, and then people just dogpiled on it.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much. Yeah.
And the thing is, like with PHP, it's like any other language. If you're a good software engineer, you can write really good code in it, but it's on you, right?
Yeah.
And PHP has a lower barrier to entry, right?
Yeah.
So it actually makes it more inclusive. Like there's a lot more people who can use it, which also means there's a lot more people who aren't programmers who do some programming with it. But it also means just due to their lack of experience and like skill and like they're not programmers, right? You get code that's not the best, right? And some of this code is made open source and it's put out there. And I think that's fantastic that it's out there, but people complain, right?
Yeah.
But like, it's not an issue with the language really.
No, and in fact, the latest Laravel framework, which was inspired by Rails, but now I think it's like a superset of Rails with the features it offers and stuff. So we do a mix of PHP frameworks. We have some Node.js as well on the back end. On the front end, we do a lot of Vue, Vuex, TypeScript. That's our typical web stack. For desktop, we do Electron, C++, Vuex, Vue, and TypeScript again. And for mobile, we do native mostly. So we have like mobile apps for iOS and Android. And so that's our stack. And in terms of infrastructure, we don't do any container technology yet. We are still using EC2 instances and load balancers and Varnish and CDN. And we use MySQL as a database. And we just I would say our engineers are just very good at tuning MySQL to do amazing stuff because like just one of our services has about, which is our market analytics service, it just collects data about the entire space. And that's why our quarterly report is so detailed and a lot of people are using us as their source now. Even our competitors use us as their source for information on the market and the market share and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That one service has about like 4 billion plus rows.
Mm-hmm.
Our Elasticsearch infrastructure has similar size of data, and we've not had the need to, put in anything fancy in our infrastructure. We do straightforward deploys, multiple deploys a day. If we need to roll back things, we roll back. We don't do any fancy DevOps. The backend guys do the DevOps.
That's how it used to be.
Yeah, and so that's why we are a very different engineering company. We're more product driven. Most of our things are API, like some products are talking to each other via API because we operate as pods, and a pod consists of a product manager, backend engineer, front engineer, designer, data scientist. Designer, data scientists are shared resources, but generally that's what a pod is, and they are a mini startup within Streamlabs, and their service talks to other services via API. So and our core is a monolith, and it's always been there, and we don't intend on breaking it and doing microservices anytime soon, simply because
microservices, at least the grand vision, is like a fad. Like the tech industry is very fashion oriented.
Yeah.
It's very someone comes up with some buzzword and everyone just starts copying it, right? And there is a way that microservices are useful, but like most people are not doing that, and most people have created a system that's much, much worse than a monolith, right? Like having a bunch of different services and containers with like each of these things calling each other in this rat's nest of an API call is way, way worse than just a monolith. You have this like distributed monolith. So you have all the problems with the monolith, plus you have all the problems of it being distributed, right? Like those problems of distributed are not trivial. You create a distributed system because you need something about that, right? You're willing to bear that cost. But like a lot of the people like getting into these microservices, they're not, I think, like they're not making an informed decision, right? They're just like, oh, I hear microservices are hot, let me do microservices. And they read some article they find on someone's blog and then start doing it that way.
Yeah, same goes for languages, same goes for frameworks. So we try to be very, as I say, product focused, and we try to we don't do any like fancy metrics or anything around developer productivity or stuff like that.
Good.
Yeah,
those things are
we also
idiotic.
don't do like Scrum as people do Scrum. We literally go like, this is what we need to build, and then we start building it with an estimate, and we hope we hit that estimate. But if we don't, we are like, okay, it's gonna take more time. We don't do like weekly Scrums either.
Yeah,
so
Scrum's another fad, like a management fad that's been going around.
So
I personally, I've seen Scrum implemented in a certain way. Now there is a theoretical way that some people say Scrum should be implemented, but I've never seen that happen, right? I've seen Scrum implemented in certain ways. Personally, I think Scrum should die a horrible death. Like I think it's like one of the worst things. I think it's brutally, brutally horrible, and it does horrible, horrible things, both to people that have it inflicted upon them and what it does to companies.
Yeah, I would agree. So in terms of infrastructure, it's mostly MySQL with multiple slaves and a lot of optimization happening. But within that, we of course live in AWS, it's a pretty old school infrastructure. Nothing fancy, but it serves a purpose. It serves 900 million pages at least a day. So
The next question from the community is another anonymous question.
Yeah.
They ask, is video streaming infrastructure commoditizable at this point? For example, is an off-the-shelf solution on AWS good enough, or is a customized application?
It depends on your use case, but there are like bunch of video infrastructure it has already been commoditized, and there are a bunch of companies already doing that. Mux is one of them. You just pay them and basically get a full video infrastructure at scale. And that's not a problem anyone, I think, is now going to fund you or pay you if you're trying to solve for. The problem is fitting that infrastructure to a certain niche, right? And figuring out what's the full cycle of that video infrastructure, because infrastructure is pretty trivial. It's things like, should the video be horizontal or vertical? And if it's vertical, then how does the data flow in? And dealing with latency issues and the use cases of, okay, so there's like a game running and there's like you streaming to the server, which is an RTMP server, which is a protocol, straightforward stuff. But that's where the complications arise. Or if you're trying to do like interactions or video changes based on certain data points, that's where it gets tricky. But Yeah, the other stuff, it's like, I don't think AWS has anything out of the box. Maybe I might be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, in fact, like data video going out of AWS is not even built. Like, you can build a server which is broadcasting out of AWS, and you won't be built for network traffic. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's a bunch of questions or a few questions that came in. So this is someone who provided questions for the a previous show we did. By the way, thank you. And I wasn't sure how to pronounce his last name. He has now explained to me how to pronounce his last name. So his name is Robin Chauhan.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I know Robin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Here's his first question. What do you think is the future of VR and AR, so virtual reality and augmented reality, in this space, and how far out is it?
So the short answer is it's a bright future. The long answer is the tech is still not there. If you wanted to see the immersion of VR, AR in general in entertainment, you can look at two things. One is a bunch of games that came out, like Beat Saber, which really immersed you in that experience. Where you had like saber, like just like Star Wars, and you would just basically dance to music while slicing cubes in a certain order, and you could even live stream that. So that's a category that was doing live stream. That's one in terms of immersion. The other is it's basically porn, and you can already see that happening. There's like tons of companies over there in that space now. I say the technology is a bottleneck because nobody, or the technology is still not there, is simply because nobody wants to wear like shit on their head and like walk around like a zombie. Neither do people.
Also tethered, not just that you have to wear on your head, you're tethered to your computer.
Yeah, and you're tethered, like even if you're not, like you can have a mobile app, but then try like doing this stuff on your mobile app and your battery just dies, right? So it seems like, and then now there's these interesting use cases or actually products coming out where like Bose is introducing these new frames. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but like, right? So they've got like, the AirPods are like toothbrushes hanging, and now like Bose has these frames, and they have like this audio system built in, and it would only target your ear, and they even have like, they're promising noise canceling to some extent as well, right? So what will it take? And Snapchat has already done the camera bit. So it seems like we will not immediately go out into the AR VR world. We will incrementally get there, and we will get there through a bunch of some step functions, right? And then these step functions would be, it won't be incremental, it would be step functions. Step functions would be people adopting video and audio on their face, right? So basically this is what we're doing. This is our brain, this is our hand, and we're basically bringing it together, right? And eventually, whatever's in the hand or on the face goes into the head, right? And the pieces of technology that need to improve will lead us there. And these headsets and this AR is a step towards that, but I don't see it going big in this exact form. It's going to be a completely different form.
Okay.
The form factor will change, basically. Yeah.
Okay. So here's another question from Robin Chauhan. Are bots major content producers yet in the streaming space? How do you expect that to grow?
They are not, and if Robin wants to collaborate, I do have a reinforcement learning idea I've been sitting on. I will not talk a lot about it, but there is a lot of potential. The thing is, a lot of machine learning professionals or people, they're still busy chasing Google-like products instead of looking at this industry. But there's like tons of things I see every day, and I'm like, once Streamlabs is somewhere and I'm like free, like if no one else picks it up, I have like a list of at least 10 to 15 ideas, which are mostly based on deep learning, reinforcement learning, around video content analysis, around content generation. And it doesn't have to be like full length content. There's a lot of, short length just opens up the door for a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I should probably say that Robin, I don't know how long it's been, I think rather recently, but recently could be like many months. Robin's been really getting into reinforcement learning quite a bit, which is why I think you probably said reinforcement learning. Yeah. Okay. So Robin has a last question. What parts of the world is vlogging most and least popular? So I guess by vlogging, he
Yeah.
might mean just like online
Streaming
video, streaming,
and video and
broadcast.
everything.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So basically, people producing content is how I would say
Yeah,
it, right? So
yeah.
people producing content. I've seen it is very popular in Asia Pacific, like in China and Japan and Singapore, those parts of the world. Recently, it has gained a lot of. It used to be popular in the teenagers, but now it's getting mainstream in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, that part of the world as well. In terms of producers, I still don't see that much content coming out of the Middle East. It will slowly. Right now, they're just influencers and women cooking or selling makeup or trying to influence you to get makeup tutorials and stuff. But with more with things getting more open, I think it'll go into other directions as well. So there's a lot of content that is getting produced. So the most interesting market I've seen is actually Brazil, because Brazil is like that one country which is, despite all the news, is producing a lot of content, consuming a lot of content, and spending a lot of money on this stuff. So yeah. So Brazil stands out to me, but otherwise, just because of like the demographics and the geopolitics around it and everything. But other parts of the world are like, huge. In fact, like North America is actually kind of catching up to it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Russia is used to, by the way. Yeah, they have their own platform. So.
What's their platform called?
VKontact, which is their Facebook.
Okay.
So,
VK.
VK, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Lauren?
All right, so that's all the community questions we have.
Awesome.
Is there, before we get into what we call rapid fire, is there anything else we should have asked you, but we didn't?
No. I don't know. Yeah, you guys have a long list. No, we're good.
Okay, rapid fire, just some random questions. People get to know you.
Yeah.
They're meant to be 1 or 2 word answers.
Sure.
Okay. Do you watch Game of Thrones?
No. I'm popular again, but no.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you already did.
No, I know about it.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
watch it. When I watch something, I know every dialogue.
I think I'm like 0 for 3 on people who have watched Game of Thrones. Okay.
So that makes you have to skip your next 2 questions.
Yeah.
I can tell you why though.
Okay. Wow.
it takes too much time, and I can't immerse myself in it fully. So the only 2 shows I watch are Billions and The Expanse, because I can relate to them.
Sure.
Mhm.
Okay, what did you eat for breakfast?
I'm fasting, so nothing.
What's the last book you read?
So I'm
Or what you're currently?
I'm rereading this book called right now. It's called How to Influence and Win People. I'm rereading it right now.
I think I've heard of that book.
It's just that like every time you manage a new team, the perspective changes, and you have to reread it.
Absolutely.
So I'm rereading it, but yeah.
Yeah, lots to learn about people there. What color is your toothbrush?
White with a blue stripe on it.
I don't know what color mine is.
I think mine has that too.
It's like all toothbrushes.
Yeah.
What's your life motto?
Wow, that is a deep question. I think it's not a motto. It's a personal belief. I believe in 2 things. One is transformation.
Mhm.
You have to keep evolving,
Mhm.
and I've done that multiple times in my life, so I know I can do it. Every
Yeah,
time.
I think one thing I should point out, like I think we said this at the beginning of the interview, like you were a software developer, then you were a data scientist, then you were a data engineer, and now you're in product.
Actually, even before software developer, I was a financial analyst, investment banker for 6 years.
Yeah, so I mean, like
Yeah.
you have been involved in
I
it.
haven't done sales. That's all this year.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
selling soaps at a shop, convincing them to put it on the shelf, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I believe in transformation. The second thing I believe in is I can be late in life, but if I work hard enough, I don't have to be smart enough.
Mhm.
So I'm always like 10 years late, and that's okay. It's my journey, and there's a lot of things, stay hungry, stay foolish, whatnot. I think all of those words, they can be, yes, they're very deep, you can understand them, but you only understand them when you get there.
Mhm.
And you can't make one of those things your motto. It's more about just fundamental principles, and that is you have to keep evolving, you transform, and secondly, you have to
you have to work hard. Working smarts don't take you anywhere.
Mhm.
And I know I'm not the smartest person. So there is one thing actually. So my boss used to say that, and I've kind of lived by it, and that reflects in my social connections over time. You have to. And he heard it from him. It's a very famous quote actually. It's called, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with." Now that was the quote.
Mhm.
I added to it and I said, you have to keep improving that average.
Mhm.
So I keep trying to, changing the room so that I stay the dumbest person, and then that way my average keeps going up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a great way to live. Okay, less deep. What emoji do you use most?
There's one called failfish, so it's a gamer specific emoji. But the common equivalent of that is like facepalm.
Got it.
Yeah, it's a facepalm because I'm
Lots
like.
of face palm.
So, and I say that a lot. So I'm like, wow. So I can't say that always. So I go like facepalm. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay, last question. Other than TechStation, of course, what's your favorite podcast/blogcast?
I listen to A16Z often just because it's a nice way to keep in touch with the valley and the thought process there, because that is the intellectual capital of the world when it comes to tech. At least now, until Beijing takes over. But at least now, or it becomes more accessible. Not takes over, but becomes more accessible. But yeah, A16Z is definitely one. There are a bunch of others, but indie hackers.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for joining
Thank you.
us and spending your time with us. I know you've got lots of things
I'm
running
running phone right now.
running into the launch of your new stuff. So
Yeah.
thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. You can catch the next episode of TechStation on May 30th. And as always, subscribe on YouTube or find us on Twitter at Hey TechStation.
For sure. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll see everyone, and I'm going to sign off in 3, 2, 1.